Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens, Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend, and to top it all off, I have an amazing guest for you tonight. One I've been trying to get on this screen for a few months, well, since the beginning, to be honest with you. So it is honor for me, and hopefully an honor for you as well. I bring you tonight, Rascal Farmers. How you doing tonight, Rascal?
I'm doing great, Eagle. How are
Hello,
you?
I'm Eagle Gardens. Good. Eagle Gardens. Sorry about that. Technical difficulty.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, brother.
Uh-oh. I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Enjoying this fucking beautiful Michigan weather, man. I think the weather's breaking up here already, man. I'm looking
It
ahead at next week's, and they're talking about like 60s, and I'm
yeah, the nights
welcoming
are
it.
already
To be honest.
nights are already starting to feel cooler. It I can tell when I'm out there in the morning and I'm watering, I can tell it's a little bit cooler.
And it didn't get too bad up here. I think we just had like a 1 week, hot spell, and that was about it for where I'm at anyway. I'll take it.
Yeah, it was well, we had about a week and a half of 90-degree weather, and then the biggest problem is there's been no rain. It's just been dry as hell.
Right, right. I heard somebody the other day, must have been from Lower Michigan. Oh, it was Mary Jane's Med Garden. She was
Okay.
talking about all the rain they were getting there. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I didn't want to divulge her location or nothing because she wanted to be a little bit adamant about where she was. And she was saying, "Man, we've got a lot of rain this year." And I'm thinking to myself, where in the heck are you? Because it ain't up
Not
here.
no, not up here, man. That must have been all down south because it's dry as hell. Things are wilted.
Yeah. It, how much work is that for you as an outdoor guy? Are you dragging buckets of water out there? Hopefully, you've got some type of watering out there where you just
Well,
turn
the
on a
the biggest
hose or something.
the biggest enclosure is out in my is right out back behind the house. It's a 24 by 24. I've got I don't know. I've got a hose that runs out there, and then I've got a couple of 55-gallon drums where I'll fill them up with water, and then I'll pH it, and then I've got a Green Giant pump, and I hook it up to a generator, and I'll spray them out there because I don't have power out there. So, but yeah, it's every 3 days. It's hitting the water, about 100 gallons at least.
It's just a little bit of water, just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. You wouldn't want to have to haul that by hand.
If anybody could do it, I could see you doing it though.
I used to do it. Not quite that much, but enough. Enough. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, keeps you healthy though. It really does.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Man, I was thinking before the show here. I was thinking, Rask, I think I I owe you more IOU joints sessions than anybody in the cannabis industry.
Oh yeah.
I think we've tried to hook up, I don't know, between like four events now, and just for one reason or another can't cross paths
It's
to have a good sesh.
Well, the biggest problem is that we're always trying to hook up down there at the racetrack at Clio, and you either have a shitty signal so that you can't get a message, or you can't hear the message, you can't feel anything vibrate. So, nah, you never hook up. It's just a pain in the ass. But yeah,
Well, at
we're
least you
still gonna
get.
have to do that.
I'll settle for the live sesh for now.
Absolutely.
So what are you smoking on over there?
That is that's cheese. Yeah, cheese. Actually, it's a blend. It's half cheese, half Munson. That Munson strain's an ass whooper, man. That was really good.
Nice
That was
coming from
Dukes from
you.
Dominion.
I hold that
Pretty
your
grown.
opinion in high regard. You say it's an ass whooper. I'm gonna say it's an ass whooper.
Well, there you go. Well, I've got a keeper of it, so we'll have to smoke it one of these days. I actually have it sitting outside right now underneath that silly vortex mail that I found. That should be ridiculous. That'll be strong.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So this is the way we do it around here. We like to start it right from the beginning. Try to find out the whole history of Rascal if we
Oh,
can.
oh dear.
So,
Go ahead. Shoot. Fire away, man.
We usually start it right from the get, man. When was that first experience you had with the plant? That first time?
Let's see. I'm 52. I was 16, so that was a lot of years ago. Um, ran downtown to my buddy's mom's store, and we smoked a joint outside, and then I had to ride the bike about 4 miles back to the house, and that was the most enjoyable bike ride I've ever had. And about the next year, I threw some seeds in the ground when I finally realized, holy shit, this bag, this pot, this stuff comes with seeds. So yeah, so actually the year after I started smoking it, I actually threw some seeds in the ground. So it goes back a ways.
So I'm just gathering here. I don't think it's most people's instinct to necessarily instinctively want to grow something when they see seeds. So I'm assuming that farmer may be a little deeper in the name, like you may have been around some gardening,
My mother.
something that you thought
Yeah.
for sure I could I can do something with this shit.
Oh, dude, I was 5 years old when my mom gave me this like 4 foot by 8 foot plot in the garden because I wanted to grow some carrots and I wanted to grow. I'm 5. No, I'm 5 years old. I wanted to grow some carrots and I wanted to grow some peas and I wanted to grow some beans. So I had this little kick-ass little garden, and every year I had this little teeny garden, and it never left. So it's either been vegetables, and because I was familiar with growing those, and they grow from seed, and I'd been around seeds my whole entire life, it was like, holy shit, this comes with seeds. So I knew what to do with seeds. The only problem was is I was used to growing these fucking vegetables. So here you are, you're 17 years old. You throw these damn seeds. I think I had like, I don't know, 6, 8. They were in the bottom of a bag. Dude, this was brickweed out of Mexico. This was like the worst ditchweed shit you ever seen in your life. But hey, man, they were seeds, and it was $40 a quarter. And so I put these seeds out, and then that was the first year that I realized holy shit, what is this? Males? I didn't even know they had males. So yeah, I had 8 plants, and I grew about a half ounce of really, really shitty seeded weed. That was my first experience at 17. So yeah, got
Well,
better since then.
oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. So did it ever die? Have you ever given it up? I mean, or was it? Did you take a little break after that?
um, yeah, I don't think the Navy was going to let me grow on the ship, so I stopped for about 3 years.
Yeah, I could see that being a dry
Yeah, yeah,
conflict
yeah,
right there.
yeah. But I picked up where I left off when I got back, so all's good.
Right on. Man, I've never even thought about taking a 3-year break, so I gotta give you a hats off
I
for
I
that,
will
man.
I will tell you that it was a trip though, because God, and I don't know. This is so many years ago. It's not even going to matter. But man, we went to the Philippines. We went to Thailand. We went to Australia. Went to Hong Kong. Um, and went to Pakistan. Um, lot of weed from a lot of different countries, man. That was quite the experience.
Was you able to collect while you were over there? Collect you some
I
beads?
wasn't. I didn't even think about it. I was so young at the time. I didn't even think about it. Had I had thought about it, well, I was I was 21. What did I care? No, I didn't even think about it. I wish I would have. But I ended up getting seeds from over there once I got serious. So it works.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Man, I had Indra on last night, and he was saying that he got approved for one of his final grows, 99 plant grow. He's
Really,
75. Yeah, and
really.
he's like, well, I've got all these seeds I brought back from Vietnam, which are Thai and Afghan, that I'm gonna plant
Wow.
and work with a little bit and pass on to a few lucky few. And the whole time he's talking, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
please
yeah.
share.
Pick me. Pick me. I'd love to have the Afghan that we used to play with years ago. That was a beautiful plant. Oh my God. It did so well out here. It was unbelievable. It was one that had been growing for a long time out on the east end of the UP. And apparently it came from over in Afghanistan, and it was just a gorgeous plant. Finished up early, hardy, frost resistant. Bugs didn't like it. Got you really high.
Sounds like checks all the boxes then. Checks all the boxes then.
Yeah, I wish I still had it. It's one of those strains that you kind of leave behind when you jump on the hype train and you go, oh my God, now I can legally buy seeds from anywhere. So, all the good gear that we had that would run out now. I wish I still had it. I had a buddy that just found a stash of seeds though, coffee can. All the original Northern Lights and the Big Bud and the Shiva Shanti stuff that we had from going all the way back to 1990.
Seen that. I was very jealous too. Very jealous.
there's there's a pack of seeds in there. There's like 300 seeds, and they're a back cross. They're a Northern Lights 5 by Northern Lights 5 by Shiva Shante, and that should be just phenomenal. I'm going to hunt the hell out of that next summer.
Yeah,
We
that
used to have a
sounds
Northern
amazing.
Lights. Dude, we had a Northern Lights number 5 that would absolutely send you to the mood. It was like, like a lot of these pots, you smoke 3 joints, 2 joints, and you're like, wow, I'm not any higher than I was after I smoked one. This thing had like a ceiling that was so far up here, you could smoke like 5 joints and it almost like put you out. So hopefully it's in that can. So we'll see.
Hopefully it is. And that's right now the terp profile I'm really wanting to jump on is that pine, and
And
I'm
what's
running another
oh,
Northern Lights 5 back cross from Kineos and a
really?
few other piney strains. But man, I'm really hoping to nail some really good stuff down. So I'm
That's
curious to see what you've got there. That was when I seen that coffee can. Out of
yeah,
everything I seen there, that Northern Lights hit was like ding. Oh
yeah,
man, that pack just had me drooling. So yeah, I
yeah.
can't wait to
That's
see
it's
what you get out of there too.
and there should be a lot of crosses. There was some stuff that we had gotten when we first started going back to like 90, 91, 92. There was some stuff that we had gotten from a friend of ours who had lived up there for again his whole life, and this old hippie dude used to live out in the woods and had been a grower up there since like the 60s and gave him some strains, and if they're in this can, and I'm pretty certain they are. That's like some shit going all the way back to the 60s that had been growing out up there in a particular part of the Upper Peninsula on the east side, and probably for 20, 30 years, IBL just run year after year after year. I'm hoping it's in there. If not, it's lost forever. There's nobody else would have it. So I'm stoked.
What's in there, man?
Dude, I thought that can was lost forever. This guy found a stash here probably about 6 months ago, and it was some stuff that he had a partial work in, but it wasn't any of our original stuff. And I had thought that this was gone. So yeah, we were. He forgot he stashed it. So it was a really cool find. Can't
You
wait to
never
pop him.
know. Maybe it was, maybe it was fate. You know what I mean? Just the right thing to be
Man,
discovered at the right time.
I don't know, but if you remember that weed from like, 90s, the early 90s, late 80s, where it just had that piney, earthy, like a skunk pissed under a pine tree. I mean, skunky, earthy. It That's what we were playing with. So I don't know. It's hard to believe that that old terp profile would exist in that. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun to play with. I
I remember that one. That was the one, man. I
know.
remember smoking that shit. And I was paying, back then, I was paying like 50,
Oh,
60 bucks a quarter for that. And was glad to pay it. Even back then, that shit was gold.
oh yeah,
You could smoke
oh
one of
yeah.
those between like six of you and just hurt your face from like CR.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And I don't know what it is, but it's man. You think about the fact that the roadkill is no longer, it doesn't even exist anymore, and those old terp profiles are so hard to find. I mean, what I can understand why the smell of the skunk would be something that people would want to shy away from because it was getting people busted right and left. But something is different with the weed today than it was back in the 80s and the early 90s. It's not as cerebral, and I'm not really sure why. Because it tests out real good, but it's not the same. Some of that early stuff that was like 18, 22, 24% just kicked the shit out of some of this stuff today that's testing 32%. And and I don't know why.
Yeah, I've heard the argument that, well, maybe your tolerance wasn't as high back then because, you weren't smoking as quality of bud. I don't
Mhm.
know about that. Maybe so. But I was sure smoking a lot of fucking weed back then.
Hey, hey,
Nonetheless, and that shit hit me hard.
I
The the
there's
pine.
something that's there's something that's really funny, and that was kind of humorous. It wasn't humorous. I was listening to Kevin Jodrey do an interview, and he said some they were talking about skunk, and they're looking for the old smell of the old roadkill skunk, and that possibly it was an ester with like a plant-based alcohol instead of a terpene, because if it was a terpene, where the fuck did it go? I mean, where is the terpene? But if it was an ester and it was part of a plant that we just bred away from, and which would be like a plant alcohol, maybe that might have something to do why it was so cerebral. I mean, you can turn around and you can vape alcohol brandy and just get messed up as hell. Where if we're talking about esters, which is basically alcohols, I don't know. I don't know. I never really thought about it until I heard him mention it, and I said, "Wow, were we all getting half drunk?" Doubt it.
It's a valid point. I mean, without testing, there's no way of really knowing. But
I know.
it's a valid
I know.
valid argument for sure.
I just, it's just hard to believe that all of those old terpene profiles or those old strains that were so much different than the hype shit that you find today. And if you were to test those old strains, like even we used to play around with the pin counting paralyzer when the pin counting paralyzer was pretty big. And I don't think that strain was testing at 24%, but it was like an ass whooper. It would put people down, and it's just way stronger than a lot of the stuff that you smoke today. but wouldn't test as high. So I don't know. It's that whole package. You know, it was just different. So I don't know. We're gonna see if we can find it.
Yeah, I believe that the whole THC number thing is bullshit. We're really celebrating just one molecule of the flower instead of,
Yep.
you know, the whole shebang there. And I don't think that's necessarily fair and a good
No.
judgment on necessarily what they're getting. I'm even bummed. I've been saying this with Jack Greenstock that's in chat. What's up, Jack? Lately that I'm really bummed out anymore that you can't go in, at least here in Michigan, really anymore, and put your nose to the jar anymore. Because, you know, me and you both as growers, you know, we may care about that number, that THC number, when we're trying to, you know, give it to them. You know what I mean? But when we're
Mhm.
talking grower to grower, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, for me, I don't even look at it. When I go in there,
No.
I'd rather nose the jars. My nose tells me what's gonna, you know, take me out right off the bat. And we don't even get that
Well,
pleasure anymore, man. They're trying to just shove us numbers down our throat, and I think it's a very inaccurate way to judge it.
yeah, I don't like it either. I'm a hands-on kind of guy. I want to be able to put it in my hand and take a look at it, and you know, yeah, absolutely. That's, but you know, I don't. It's kind of funny. Now, are there dispensaries over where you are?
They just opened one up. I think it was like last week, and it's funny from everybody I seen. It was like, you know, the total cliche of like what you don't want to see when you want to open up. I guess they had like dancing alligators out there with fucking pot signs and shit, pot leaves like pointing to the building, and I'm like, oh man, really? It isn't that hard to figure out, is it?
Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, we're in a totally red county. There's nothing here. There's nothing to the east of us. Um, the closest one is like 35 miles away, down in Everett.
Yeah, before that, the closest one was a good 45 minutes to an hour. I think it was, what the heck is it? Something bee provisioning up there towards Grayling. I forget what
Yep,
it is, Happy Bee or something like that.
yep. That's a little bit further. We've got the kings of cannabis down in Everett. That's Loom, who wants to take over the world. They own a lot, man. They've got a pretty big operation, and they've got like this whole northeast side from like Everett on up. They've got what, 4 or 5 dispensaries, and they want to put in more. I actually interviewed for them.
Really?
That was, yeah, that was fascinating. Yeah,
How'd that
yeah.
go?
Dude, you're not. I interviewed for a grow position, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And then they offered to start me out in one of their dispensaries as a peon, and I couldn't do that either. Dude, okay, let me, if somebody told you, and the pay was going to be pretty decent, but if somebody told you you were going to have to spend your days growing the plant you love in fucking rock wool with 3-part nutrient, wearing a white lab coat and a hairnet, and you weren't going to be able to grow at home anymore, what would you do?
No. See you later.
No, no. And then when you talk to them about their dispensary, yes, they have other weed, but theirs is always the top shelf stuff, and you know it's grown in Rockwell with blue fertilizer.
Yeah, it's a silly thing. Not just all the things you said there. Is there a chance that that interview was recorded?
On their end,
Yeah,
I don't know why.
because I've actually heard instances of like these bigger companies as they're doing these interviews, recording your techniques and stuff as they pick your brain and they ask you about your experience and stuff like that. They're kind of logging
No,
little bits of
no.
tech.
This was the interview here took place with a guy and a girl. Let's call them Ken and Barbie. Um, totally, totally, totally Chads. It was so funny. By the book, and no, they have a system, dude. This. I met Big Ag in Pot, and they want to go. They want to go global, and they've got plans. They had plans already. They had their grow facility in Everett, which I believe was 40,000 square feet, something stupid. And they have just put in an effort to annex more property because they want the city to annex this property next to them because they want to expand it to 200,000 square feet. They've got like Petoskey, Bel Air. I'm gonna get the cities wrong, man, but there's like up north. There's three of these up north. There's one of their dispensaries in Everett. They have got plans. There are going to be four in Cadillac. The only it's crazy. In the county's red, but the city of Cadillac inside the county is the only place that voted for it, and they're the only ones that are going to have any dispensaries within the whole county. So they actually did what the voters wanted to do, but they are one of the four. There are 19, I believe, that had put in for four licenses, and they are one of the four and probably the leading candidate right now. So it's in the interview they told me they've got plans to go big. Yeah. With their tabletop grow and their Rockwell and their three-part bug juice. Oh man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Uh-oh. I'm dead. Did I die?
God, sorry. No, it was me. It's me.
Okay.
Totally me.
Thought I died.
I just see that as being a totally shitty system. I think, that in itself will kill the name of some good strains right there. Once things are started commercially produced, like you said, with the three-part fucking piece of shit and fucking no
Oh my God.
just a machine. It's gonna be so bland and cookie cutter. We as I can tell exactly what you're talking about when I go in. Well, especially even more so back in the day when we were talking about like 5 minutes ago there, when you could go back into the store there and actually sniff the jar, and there'd be 10, 15 strains there, and they'd all be the same. And you knew exactly that was the problem. They were in Rockwell, same fucking nutrient system, nothing changed. You're like, yeah. So, yeah. Well, at that point, it was no big deal. It was like, so what do you suggest here? They pretty much all smelled the same. There was the terp profile was even there.
I know, and I think you just said something pretty fascinating. I'm sitting here with this octopus. I can hear my stupid microphone clicking in my ear, and at some particular point, I'm going to lose it and either switch over to this stupid corded thing or just run with the microphone on the phone. But you said something really interesting. You said that the commercial applications like that or operations like that would kill some of these strains, man. But wouldn't that be something all of a sudden some of the known hype strains that were in the you know, commercial market all of a sudden became known as shit strains just because they were grown shitty.
Yeah.
That's good. You know,
Yeah.
because I'll tell you what, then that would turn around and dude, I'm already seeing it. You go to these events. We went I went to Clio to one of the High Times Cannabis Cups, and it must have been the last one that they had at the racetrack. And probably the coolest thing, I was looking for a Sherlock pipe. And just as we walked in, there was this dude, and he had this booth set up. And when, he gave me the price of this, and I said, "Do you do a trade?" And he says, "Yeah, you want to trade for weed?" And I said, "Yeah, what do you want?" And I said, "I've got Tangy and I've got this." He goes, "No, no, no, I don't want any of that shit." He says, "I want what you smoke. I want what you grow. None of that other stuff." And I'm starting to find that more and more even when we're starting to look at seeds. It's not even, this name or that name. You go to some of these shows now, especially some of the organic shows, and you want it's like heirloom vegetable seeds. I mean, it's cool as hell. I'm out there buying stuff I've never even heard of now, just because I know the guy who's breeding it, and he told me what he did, and he's giving me the terp profile, and he's telling me how it grows. And I mean, he knows this strain like he knows his dog. So that's that's certainly better than back in the day when guy A breeds a strain, and you come up with this flashy marketing thing to try to sell it, and then it gets popular. And no, I'm not about that. I want give me something that something that somebody
Quality.
loved on. Yeah, something that somebody loved on, for God's sake. I'm having a hell of a time keeping this lit. So what do you got going on behind you, man? I see you are the king of tents. What's over your shoulder?
Well, the big one over here, I guess. This is always like backing up to me. Looking in that rearview mirror.
I know. Isn't
That
that
girl right,
isn't that crazy? Yeah.
that girl right there is some beautiful loser, and right here I've got some Kitty-O's lights. I've got some Orange Boss. I've got some Godiva by the American one. I have some Insane in the Membrane back there by Ethos Genetics. I have Dominatrix by Empire Breeding. I have some uh, Primal Punch V2 right there by Midgrower One, and some Pine Valley back over there. I've got
Yeah.
back over here. I've got Primal times GMO, some Primal times Wedding Cake. I have some J1 Jack Greenstock sent me from California. And then there's actually another row of LED tents back there behind
Oh no,
this
God
one, but
damn,
it's
man.
like it's lights out back there.
Oh my God.
So
Hey, Med knocked it out with that primal punch, didn't he?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Both versions are very good. The
I
F1
what's
and the that's. Go ahead. I'm
I've
sorry.
never I've never smoked it. What's the terp profile on that thing?
Uh, the first one I find is very fruity, with just a hair of like banana terps to it, but it seems to be in
Okay.
structure. The ones I have like more Gorilla Glue lenient, and then
Okay.
the second version there is the one I've got is all banana. I mean, super banana. I mean, it's like you know how what a plantain tastes like, like a sweeter
Oh yeah.
banana.
Yeah.
That's what it's like, and then as it gets down, it's one of those strains. As it gets down, it kind of actually gets better. And
Really?
it don't get roachier. It gets better. It gets kind of like towards like
Nice.
baby food towards the end.
Nice.
It's really good with that
Nice.
Gorilla Glue kind of smack on the back end of it. And to be honest with you, I like the round two better. To be honest with you. The first one's good, really good. Don't get me wrong. I would
You
keep
like
her
the
in
you
my
like the
garden.
banana?
Yeah, the banana was good. I like the flavor of it, and the bud structure was more lenient towards the banana punch. A lot bigger, firmer buds, and a healthier plant all in all. The GG4 can get a little weak later in flower, where she needs a lot more support. And the F2s, the V2s, there were fucking with banana punch lenient were a lot stronger. She was a lot more stronger. Didn't need
Oh,
quite as much
killer,
support.
killer. I'm gonna have to try that one of these days. I'm gonna get my hands on that weed and try it.
That's good. That's good. The beautiful
Killer.
loser back there, that big girl that you asked about right there. Uh,
Huh?
that one's actually mine. I was,
Really?
a little experiment, a little bit there,
What'd
and
you do?
I had Challenger Deep, which I'm smoking right here,
Okay.
which was the mother, which was Star Destroyer times Wizard Clue, and I hit her with Winnie. I had a Winnie male, which was the Duraband times C99. So she turned
Okay.
out pretty good. She actually's got a
Really?
lot of the bud structure of the Challenger Deep there, but the flavor profile comes from Dad there. It's more of a grapefruit cheese Danish is the way I kind of describe the both in bag
Oh
and
shit.
in the joint there. It's pretty tasty.
Wow.
It's
I'll
very
bet. I'll
pretty
bet.
sedative.
A
Pretty
grapefruit. A
sedative, man.
grapefruit
You go
cheese.
double up.
A grapefruit
Double up
cheese
on her,
Danish.
you're gonna
That's
be laying around.
grapefruit cheese Danish sounds pretty killer. I've got a little clearing out where I'm doing a little breeding, and I've got my cheese sitting under a vortex. So I'm hoping to come up with something kind of like a really spacey, cheesy, Danishy kind of citrus thing going on. Sounds kind of the same thing. Should be good.
It should be good. Vortex is always one of those super high strains anyway, where it doesn't have much of a ceiling. You can kind of puff yourself into a stony. But that
I
cheese buzz, man, the cheese buzz and taste, such good
I
for
know.
body
I
relaxing and just all around good
I
feeling.
I love it's half of what I've got outside right now is cheese, and it always is. That's that's probably my go-to daily driver. It has been for years. Yeah, it's good. So yeah, it'll be good to play
Yeah,
around
the
with it
first
because that thing has been growing outside here in this environment for for at least the last 6 years. It's been outside, so it's really hardy, and every year it gets better and better and better. It seems to get more and more acclimated. That's cool.
that's one thing I think is neat about your breeding there, breeding out your own stuff is you'll be making stuff that's more suited for home. Ultimately, as you pick them out and move forward, you're gonna make yourself something that's gonna be acclimated perfectly for where you're at.
I'm gonna. That is probably the biggest can of worms because after having been growing and breeding and running strains outside for years that just perform so well because we're so bloody cold and so humid the end of September, and it's just madness. It takes some really special gear. But here you are, this punk kid out here, and all of a sudden you become a legal medical grower. And I literally left all of that stuff that we'd worked on for years behind, and I ran out to find the blueberries, and I ran out to find the this and the that, and whatever I could legally buy that I'd heard, the glowing reviews about. And what you find is you run that stuff outside, and all of a sudden now I've got PM, and I've never seen that before. And I'm going to tell you that one of the hardest things, and it broke my heart too, because, when I started testing for TGA, I did it because all the terps, man, the terp profiles, the different fruits, and Sub was just into all of those flavors. And I'm like, fuck, I got to get my hand on those flavors. There wasn't really any of that stuff that I ended up picking up that was bred down in SoCal in a grow room that I could get to grow up here outside. It was just madness. You could test something inside and it'd run okay, and you'd put it outside and it'd just flip the hell out. And it was hard just trying to find it. And all of that original gear, all of those different strains I tested, the only thing that I've got right now is a cuvee, and I'm running 3 more from a new pack. They don't look like they want to grow here either. So yeah, it's important. And, dude, we think about it with vegetables. What was that?
I said the same cuvee F1s or the second round of the F2.
No, the originals, the pre-fire first run cuvées. I picked up from Galactic. I ended up getting 2 packs, and I ran the first pack, and I ended up with one female that was really strong, and then another female out of these were 5 packs, and then another female. I had 3 males I didn't keep. The second female was a little runt, and I didn't keep her. The first female that I kept, I swear to God, you couldn't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference between my Cuvée 1 and Space Queen. It's that close to tiny. It's not even, it's almost the same damn plant. And so this spring I ran 3 more, and I've got them outside, and I've got one that looks just like her, and 2 more that seem to lean to the Pinot, and one that just looks like it just wants to grow here and have fun. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Fall is wet. Fall is cold, and I don't expect them to make it through. It's pretty funny now. You remember when I went through that hellish PM there a couple years ago, and it lasted for like 13 months, and I brought it from the greenhouse back inside, and then from inside back out to the greenhouse. I was just like, it fucking wouldn't go away. All right, I've had strains since then that, because I managed to keep those same strains. It was hell, but they pulled through. They are so bloody resistant now. I can take new strains that I test, put them out there. They'll get PM and literally be brushing up against those ones that flipped out here years ago. They don't even care anymore. They're just like, get away from me with that shit. So yeah, there's something. So basically, what goes on now is that all of my plants go outside in the spring, and then right before the transition, I'll take cuts, and I bring those cuts back inside, and that's where the new mother stock comes from. So they've been outside in the dirt, working with the microbes, working with the soil, working out in the environment, and then, and every year they just come back through. So yeah, and now, I mean, it's funny. I was loving on Smiley's interview with Leighton Morrison, because at one of the Shaping Fire podcast with Shango Los, Leighton had done a talk on soil, and he was talking about those soil horizons, and it's been something that I've wanted to do, because all of my plants go outside and then they come back in, and I don't give a shit about how they run inside, because everything I got, they got to go outside. I want to play with some big trees outside, so everything that's going to run inside, it better run outside or it's going to get the axe. So that was really, really crucial. When I heard that, I was trying to figure out, all right, I'm growing in all this peat moss and, in this whatever I grow in, whether it's cocoa and everything. I don't have any fucking cocoa out there in my enclosure out in the backyard. I mean, if anybody's seen the videos I posted, I got sand. I've got sand, and then I put some organic material, and then I have organic material and sand. But what do I do when I come inside? I grow in this entire pot of this, horizon, and I try to say to this plant that, just was growing out in this 10-foot beast out here in this sand with this organic material, playing with the microbes that can get plants to. That's the biggest thing. Is I mean, you know, the microbes that grow those plants out there in that sand with those soil horizons in 2 inches of little organic material are way, 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 way different than the microbes that are going to be living in a whole entire pot full of basically that organic horizon. So I wanted to try to find a way to bring that more inside so that I could get kind of this transition, and the plants that were growing inside now are going to be more used to the microbe environment that they're going to see when they go outside. So it's not this big shock, because I think a lot of shock comes from not just, taking what causes transplant shock. Well, I think it's the whole entire package. Well, I'd really like my biology to be the same inside as it is outside, so that, if that makes any sense at all. So I had already talked to Leighton about that, putting those horizons in, and that's fun.
He's an organic genie, my friend. Just like that, you say his name in organics, he just pops right up, man.
Said so many times, man.
Hey, my brother, how are you?
Good, man. You?
I'm doing well. I'm fucking talking shit with Eagle. What could be better than that? Now
I know,
I'm talking
right?
shit with Smiley. It's awesome.
Yeah, no,
dude, I want it, dude. Pow, man, you cranked that out of the park. That good for you. I mean, you pulled everything out of Leighton that I wish I would have pulled out, but I couldn't have pulled it off, man. And you did that, and thank you from all the rest of us.
Yeah, no, that's what I was jumping in, man. I was curious if that's because you were kind of hitting me up on DM and stuff. If that was something are you gonna work on that as far as like building the horizons and stuff in a pot, or?
Okay, here's what I went out and did, because before that, after Shango Los and Leighton did that interview, I hit up Leighton in the Regen group, and I mean, I probably shouldn't even say this, but I mean, the guy is such a hell of a dude. He says, "Call me, we need to talk." So I hit him up on the phone, and I called him, and basically he explained what to do. Now, what was crazy is in the bottom. Okay, so the way he explained the horizons was, let's say you've got a 12-inch pot. The first 6 inches is going to be the organic, the O horizon. So the top half is going to be the O horizon. Then you'd have 4.5 inches of your A horizon, and then 1.5 inches of your E horizon. So what I did was, here was my main concern. You've seen what my soil horizons are. There's no freaking stone here. I mean, I don't have any of these rocks or any of this gravel or anything down there. I am on a flipping sand dune. So it's as near as I can tell. I have 2 inches of O horizon outside, and then I've got an A horizon that goes from here until they hit bedrock. Now, my well is a 5-inch well. It's 285 feet deep. They didn't hit the bedrock until 245 feet down. So it was like that sand shit. And when they excavated for my house, they found this tube of clay. It was like somebody shit a lot of clay that was 6 foot in diameter, and it went from one side of the house. The house with the garage is 72 feet long, and it spanned the whole thing, and it was like this big tube of clay. Other than that, it was all freaking sand. So, I mean, it's really, so when I'm talking to Leighton and I said, how should I set this up? We kind of came to the conclusion that I probably should still put those rocks down in the bottom of the pot, and just for some aeration down in the bottom of the pot, so it's not just compacted sand down in the bottom. And that makes total sense. Even though they're not going to find that outside, I'll still put that in there. So I have actually set my pots up, and I've done it. Um, they're not looking the best, and the biology just isn't right yet. I usually what I'll do is I'll put the soil in there. Like some people will make the soil and they'll let it sit for a while, and I know because it's hot and it's got to break down and everything. But mine's pretty much composted when I build it, and it's pro mix, yeah, peat moss and that little white shit. So and then 30% compost, and I throw some worm castings in there, and that's basically my O horizon. So my aeration is going to end up being perlite. Well, generally I'll throw my cover crop in, and then I'll throw down my mulch, and I'll let the cover crop get established and do everything. But I rushed it this time, and I rushed it this time at this time of the year when we hit that 90-degree spell, and the plants just look like shit. So I don't think it's really fair. I've actually moved them outside, and they're starting to look they're starting to look better. But basically what I'm doing with them now is I'm just getting the biology right and getting the soil right. And whether those plants do well or don't do well, hell, I might just chop them and just throw down a cover crop and just get those plants ready. Because, the next time I use those pots will be winter when I test the seeds from this summer. So, it's, yeah, but yes, I am doing it. Now, you said you were going to do it too?
No, I've been considering ways to do it, and I think if I ever were to build a bed, I definitely would do it. And it's shifted a little bit in how I'm doing my pot, but not really a ton. I'm just being more mindful of what I got sitting in the bottom. So if anything, the bottom 4 inches, I use like pea gravel and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm building a lot of that extra in. You know, I don't know. And probably I should build that sand layer kind of thing to filter any microfines like he was talking. But I'm more worried about structure, right? As far as like the way air can move through the pot and what's really there. So
yep. Now, do you just grow you're just inside, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then I would say it makes less difference. Bouncing back and forth between outside and inside is just plain, it's madness, man. I don't wish that on anybody. If I had to do it all over again, and if I could, I'd have my outdoor plants and my indoor plants, but that's just not practical.
So when you bring them from outside inside, do they get real sad too? Is that a...
No, I bring them in a solo cup as a cut. I'm not actually bringing the plant in. I went through, like, if you were to look inside my veg tent, like my flower room inside and my veg room inside were completely empty, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, I took my cuts from outside. So all of my parents that I keep in my inventory, they're outside right now in my enclosure. I've got 2 of them. And then I'll take my cuts generally mid to end July. And then those cuts become the new mother stock and come inside as cuts. And then, and then I repopulate. So I'm bringing genetics and plants that spent the spring and half the summer outside right before the transition. And then they come inside while they're still in veg.
So there's probably not too much shock with that, but like going from inside to outside is what you're talking
about. None. I don't get too much wilt. And what I see is if they can survive and do well enough, in the first couple seasons, they start getting stronger and stronger and stronger, almost as if. And it's really weird because they don't really spend an entire season outside. They'll go out as little babies and they spend the spring and they spend the first half of the summer before flower outside. They never even really see a flower season before they come back in as cuts. So they've never really gone through that whole entire season. But it still seems like because they grew out there and they flourished out there, once I bring them back inside, they're just their health has gone up a notch. It's hard to, it's one of those things that I just can't explain. I just see it, you know. So that's.
I think it's genius myself, Rascal, because you, I've heard and I've done it myself, taking plants that I've felt have older strains that have ran for a while, and I believe that have lost a little bit of their vigor. So I've let them veg outside for a little bit to bring back that vigor. But I like what you've done. But see, what I've done always is stayed in my pot. You know what I mean? I'm
Yep, and
kind
then
of
bring
really
the whole
digging
plant
what
back
you're
inside.
doing by. I dig what you're doing here by taking the cut from in ground, like you say, something that's had a chance to adapt and take some microbes from the ground and take some shit naturally like that up from its next coming around for that environment that you can nurse back and get it, for round two. I think that part of it's genius because not only have you restored some vigor in there, but you've already gave it a little shot of the natural environment. Like you said, each time you do that, I can see how it would be putting more and more vigor for your environment back into that strain. A genius way to breed your environment into the strain, really, for
And
sure.
and here's the other thing, and it was really kind of funny is until I started listening to, you just see it. You take a sick plant from inside, you put it outside, and something seems to happen to it when it gets outside. And I always thought maybe it was the fact that it was sunny and it was hot during the day, but at night it was cooler and the plants could just like chill out and they could relax and they rested a lot easier than they did when they were inside and everything was like go, 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 go all the time. They just seemed to grow better and healthier outside. And so, here I'm thinking, well, maybe it's just this temperature fluctuation and I can't really duplicate it inside and that's it. But, you start listening to the KNF guys. And I think it's kind of fascinating. If you're going to make a fermented plant juice, you take your collections in the morning while the dew is still wet on the leaves because there's all kinds of microbes that are in the air. And as they blow through the air, they get trapped on the leaves, and the leaves can actually, and the leaves have moisture. And after about 30 minutes, they'll start to colonize on the leaves. And we know that microbes colonize on the leaf surface. Well, what if you take and you put your plants out there and they grow out in the open sun and they've been out there since mid-May and now here it is the end of July and you take your cuts and they've had all of those mornings with all of that dew and all of that wind and all of that sun and all of that rain and all of these microbes colonizing on the leaf surface. Now you take that back inside and that becomes your mother stock and you're actually taking the microbiology from outside and you're bringing that back inside with the plants. And I think it's that whole cycle. I think it seems to be helping. I don't know if they can actually, one of these days they'll do that. They'll be able to take a plant outside, and then they'll bring it back inside and you can test and find out, did that microbiology come back inside and is it still alive here, through the flower cycle? I mean, shit, I don't know. Maybe not. All I know is they keep getting better.
Well, they talk a lot about. Oh, sorry, you go.
Sorry, brother. Ultimately, it's kind of like cultivating with a natural KNF, right? I mean, instead of actually bringing it in from the outside, you're actually working with it from the outside and bringing it in with the plant naturally. Really, right?
There's, you start looking at if you start looking at a lot of this stuff, and I think KNF playing around with KNF the last couple years, and I haven't done any of it this year at all. Last year I did, the year before I did. I think playing around with that really opened my eyes to the microbiology and the importance of native biology. And why? Because when we look at my soil and I've got 2 inches of organic material and then all this flipping sand, something's growing those freaking trees out there, man. I mean, we know that there's biology out there growing all of those berries and all of that stuff that grows out there. Something's able to adapt out there. So, yes, native local biology, you know, somebody out there in Southern California making, or Arizona or Florida, and they're making their bugs in a jug. And here you buy this can of microbes, this jug of microbes, mix it up with water and pour it on your garden. I mean, are those going to live in this sand? I don't think so. But taking my cuts from outside and looking at the way that the microbes are going to hit the leaf surface and do that, and then working with compost piles outside where here they are uncovered and it rains on them and it wind blows on them and the biology hits them and all of this stuff inoculates these compost piles with native microbes. I mean, I sprinkle some of that down and then I throw some hay down and then I sprinkle some more down and then you water through it, and every time you water they get this big huge tea bang. Yeah, so
No,
pretty
dude,
cool.
I dig that because that you were talking about the microbes on the leaves, the phyllosphere or whatever, but they were talking. I was listening to a discussion. They were saying how the bacteria are entering into the plant, so like the same bacteria can be in the soil as on the leaf surface, basically. Like they're interchanging in back and forth. So like you literally would be taking in soil biology with that 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 cutting, you know what I'm saying? You're literally grabbing that whole microbiome, so to speak, and it is cool, man. I like seeing it, and I get it. It's an anecdotal thing, and everybody's like, "Oh, you know, it's testing." But I mean, to everybody listening, this dude's been growing for what, over 25 fucking years. I mean, if he's seeing something with a plant, yeah, dude. So yeah, so you know what I mean. If he's seeing something with a plant, he's not bullshitting with you on that. So I look to that where these guys have been doing it that many years, and they see a difference like that, and it's kind of like that's a light bulb moment for somebody that's been growing decades, dude. You just got a lot of info real quick, you know.
Yeah, there was a question, or a comment somebody just made where they just said that they never bring plants inside from outside because they're scared of pathogens. You know, I mean, you remember when I went through all that PM battle, and that's what I did. I brought plants that had, and it was my cheese, my green ice, nom nom, and I had a ninja fruit and one other one that I ended up losing because they just didn't pull through. But those other three ended up pulling through. And that was exactly what did it, is trying to get these strains hardy enough to grow outside and going through this whole process. I brought PM from outside when they got it inside. Then I brought it back outside and I brought it back inside. I had it for 13 and a half months and I couldn't shake it. It was like absolute hell. It's watch my YouTube channel. It was madness. So yeah, that is an absolute real deal. But they lived through it and now they're totally resistant to it and now I don't have any problem with it and it's been smooth sailing ever since. But yeah, trying to get those things acclimated, because we're a torture chamber up here. I mean, it's rough. So yeah, there was a little bit of growing pain there for sure, for sure.
With that
But I'm
being
glad I did it.
said, Rascal, do you? I don't. I'm looking for your opinion. I'm gonna kind of throw mine on there real quick. Um,
Go ahead.
I believe you could still get everything that you're achieving to do. You know what I mean? Pulling the microbes out of the soil and into the plant, all that goodness, and the whole technique. But I don't think you would be losing anything by the in between. Doing a sulfur dip. Real quick before you brought them indoors. The vigor and the microbes are done and in the tissue of the plant. So a quick
Possibly.
dip, to ward off some bad shit, I don't think would hinder the process at all. You know what I mean? I don't think
Probably.
it would slow down what you're trying to achieve.
Probably not. I probably won't do it, but it probably wouldn't. No, I don't. Yeah.
Right.
It's, damn pussy plants. They don't need that shit.
I will say
Better,
though, that is one of the best things I've added to my cloning is that
what's that?
adding a sulfur dip. But I actually add a touch of the maxi crop with it too, the powdered seaweed or whatever. So it's a little
Yep.
bit, it's the wettable sulfur and a touch of that powdered seaweed. But man, it just makes them shine and they root. And when I transplant them, they're like that fresh, nice green look. And it's I don't know, it's hands down been the best change. So just food for
Have you have you ever used the Sufoil X?
Nope.
That's what I think I'm probably going to end up doing. If I was going to do a dip, I'd probably do a Sufoil, just a natural oil. Suzanne Wainwright Evans recommended. That was one of the things that she recommended at the Regen was the Sufoil X, and it's, so maybe I'd use that because that'll probably, if I have any kind of a pest that I deal with, I don't deal with any kind of mites. I've never seen broad mites. I've never seen any. I deal with aphids. If there's a pest that's a scourge up here, it's aphids. They don't, thank God they don't kill the whole entire plant, but they're everywhere. So I'd probably do a dip for those, but natural predators take care of that.
Yeah, no. See, the Sufoil X is a petroleum-based oil, where like some of the
I thought it was a mineral. Is it a mineral oil?
mineral, yeah, but it's whatever. But yeah,
I think because I don't think I could be totally dumbass wrong here, but is a mineral oil a petroleum-based oil?
guy, I'm not sure, man. I wouldn't.
I don't think it is. Let's put it this way: when my daughter's horse had a digestive issue, the vet came over here. Do you have animals?
Yeah, I have dogs. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a horse, man, and she's got this digestive issue, and she's losing all this weight. The vet comes over with a hose, dude, like up your nose with a rubber hose. Yeah, big time, man. This fucker's like 4 foot long, up a nostril, down into her stomach, and he puts the other end. It's a pump, and he puts it in a gallon jug of mineral oil with a pump, and starts pumping this all through. And it was straight mineral oil, and that was to lubricate her digestive system and get everything as she was plugged up. And 2 days later, she's better. But it was mineral oil, so I don't think it was a petroleum base, because that would probably be bad. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I'm not sure. No.
So I don't know.
That's just what
I know it's used in organic processes, so
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just switched to the sulfur, or I didn't ever dip with the oil just to begin with, but I started using the sulfur, and I just noticed like it's almost like a health benefit for them. It's almost like the same action of like a foliar spray, like you would be feeding it. So
what do you use?
That salt.
What do you use?
I use wettable sulfur I got from Build a Soil, and then just that powdered seaweed from MaxiCrop or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, and just
cool.
1-to-1 of each, and they rock, man. So, yeah, I don't know. It's one of them things. I seen the remarkable change with it, adding it. And it's like, oh,
cool.
Sweet.
And you see a benefit. Is the benefit in they clone better?
Yeah, I have a lot better transplanted clone at the end of it. They're all evenly rooted. They're evenly healthy. They're all nice and green, throwing nice growth. So yeah, you ever notice like when you're cloning? So I use a dome, and it always seemed like when they started throwing roots, they get like a little bit of a yellow look to them, and they almost kind of stick to that. They just stay nice and green, and like I don't know. That's what I noticed.
Almost like you gave them a little bit of fertilizer boost, but you didn't really give them a food boost.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's like just enough to kind of kick them in gear, whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was that podcast with the Future Cannabis one with Scott Ola Granola or whatever, but he was talking about that as far as guys were treating with sulfur, and he's the one that added that tip about adding the seaweed too, by the way. But he was saying guys were foliar treating with sulfur, and when he sits down and cranks out how much nutrition that is, and like what they're using and whatever, he has these calculations. And he was like, they were foliar spraying the same amount that you would be wanting to give through the soil media anyway. So I just found that kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah,
like,
way.
So that's when I realized it's a foliar feed as well, you know. And they were always talking about like, you know, we always think of foliars as for war, and he was you need to kind of shift your thinking and think of, you know, foliar for plant health, and let the plant health be the war against any of the pests, which I know is a debatable thing, but man, it's I've added a few things foliar, and all I can say is there's a dramatic difference, and it's pretty badass. So
nice. I want to get into more of the. I want to end up getting into more of the foliars, but they scare the shit out of me. I've just screwed up so many things with foliars in the past. Different leaf issues where I swear to God, I changed the pH of the leaf surface, like, and then all of a sudden the plants would trip out on me, and they just wouldn't do well. And not sure why. So a couple bad experiences and kind of scared the hell out of me.
Yeah. No, you definitely want to do some homework. There's you can definitely do damage. It's just like fertilizing with the soil, man. I mean, you know, you got to know what you're doing there too.
So. Yep. You know, and the other thing is I'm always so concerned. Now I'm so concerned about the fact that using anything like that we know that biology populate the surface, colonize the surface of the leaf. And if I bring that biology from outside, and then I go to bring that biology inside, and then I wipe that slate clean and I kill it all, am I really, you know, the whole idea of bringing that outside soil, like when I built those pots, that A horizon in my new pots, that soil from out there where those plants are growing right now. Right. So I actually brought that, talk about that, I brought that shit inside and put that in. So that's, you know, and right now, those plants that aren't looking so good, where those pots are starting to get healthy, those pots are sitting out in that enclosure right now for that whole entire very reason. So I don't know if I can avoid jacking with the biology, or if I can avoid maybe, you know, not just killing it off when I bring it inside. I'm hoping that I can strengthen them, because I'm kind of resistant, but you're saying that sulfur's not going to do anything to that.
I don't think so. I mean, unless it's shifting the pH somehow, but I don't think so. Not at a low rate. I mean, I'm not using a.
What does it exactly do?
It basically makes the leaf surface, the sulfur is like shitty for any of the mites or russet mites, broad mites, any of that kind of shit. It just makes it uninhabitable. Like mold doesn't want to grow there either. It's like you change the surface of the leaf to like Mars form or whatever. Like it's
okay.
That's my understanding.
See,
so
I'm saying, Rascal, is I believe that the microbes in the KNF, all the work you believe you're doing, I believe it's already in the tissue from being outside for that it's already in the plant. You're just washing off the nasty stuff outside. All that goodness that you've taken in from indoors, it's in the tissue of the plant. You know what I mean? You're just giving it a quick, health shot before you bring it back in. You're cleaning off any mildew that might be on there.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
was my thought.
Yeah. It's possible. Sure.
You could always do a side by side.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we'll throw it down in the lab. Side by sides are good.
The way I've been kind of looking at the foliar thing, though, Rascal, is like I listen to that Advancing Eco Agriculture a lot, and he talks about how they can actually shift the soil biology with a foliar spray. And what he's talking about, I mean, they do testing. So they do soil testing, they do sap analysis. But what they determine from that, they will actually apply in a foliar spray. So whatever micronutrient, whatever they see lacking, they apply in a foliar spray.
Sure.
They'll actually like see the biology in the soil change, and they'll see the plant sap change like dramatically from it to where it'll like kill plant sucking insects and like starts to really
no shit
thrive. Yeah, just like it's totally thrives the nutrient cycling in the soil because it's basically the plant's making more photosynthesis. It's making more sugar more rapidly. That's what higher bricks is a higher photosynthetic rate, basically.
I know that there is something to all of the foliars because the people that I respect the most foliar feed, it's and and then that's definitely where I want to end up going. Right now I'm working on this soil but yeah, that's my next step is trying to get into all of the different foliars. Now, do you do more with the KNF ferments as well?
I actually don't do much with KNF at all, really.
Okay.
I use the Lab LAB, but I buy that from Country Roots. So.
Yeah, that's so that is that the only foliar that you spray then? Is just that one?
No, I mix it up through a bunch of them. I've been fucking around with it. I don't claim to know anything. I'm just kind of listening to some guys talk about what they do through testing. Until I can do testing, I'm just gonna kind of guess and see and go. Oh, I've done the same. I've had them kind of fuck up a couple times. I turn them colors and shit. So
and that's and that's the one thing that is organics is so deep. And when I got into this, dude, all I wanted to do was just grow a fucking plant. I don't want to be a scientist. I'm not wearing a white lab coat. There's a microscope sitting right here, and I will look at, I will take my compost and put it on a slide and, throw this slide underneath the microscope and look at it. And I can tell the difference between a bacteria and a fungi, but it's really, it's, have you read Teeming with Microbes by Lowenfels?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when you make it, so it's, for me, it's more about, it's easier just for me to just concentrate on the soil food web, and make sure that when I throw my compost in there, and I know I've got my bacteria and I know I've got my fungi in the soil because in my compost, because I can see them in my microscope and I know they're in there. And then to get that second level with the nematodes and the protozoa, you can turn around and you can take straw and hay and everything, and you can put it into this big 55-gallon drum of water and aerate it, make a tea, and it's loaded with protozoa. And you can seed your soil with the second level of the soil food web. Well, shit, I'm just doing this lasagna stuff. So I throw the compost out there and I throw the straw out there, and every single time I water and every single time it rains, I'm doing the exact same thing, but I don't have to mix it in this big jug. I'm just doing it right there, right on the ground, right around the base of the plants. And it really, since I tripped over this and kind of came like full circle to what we used to do, it's really been easy. And I think once I build up this soil, then I'll start working on different ferments and different foliars and seeing, okay, how can I push this plants? Because look, I'm no scientist, but I swear to God, with some of these foliars, I have pushed the plant. Is it possible to push a plant further than the soil and the soil biology can actually keep up with it? Can you foliar feed a plant and actually have it not do as well? Because I swear to God, I've done it, especially in soil that's like first run, second run soil, where I know the biology just isn't rocking, and I'll hit it with something and I'll tweak the hell out of the plant. And it's like there was no buffer at all in the system for what I did to it. But if I do that with like 6 and 7 run soil, there seems to be this natural buffer where you could pretty much hit it with napalm and the damn plant will just go, fuck off. and just keep rocking. And I don't know what that is, and I can't explain it, but it seems to have happened enough times that I think, man, once I get this soil kicking and I can pretty much throw napalm on it and it goes like this, okay, then I'll see about maxing it. I just don't think I'm there yet. So I went and dabbled in all of the K&F, but I got in so far over my freaking head. I think I actually did more harm than I did good. So I backed off a little bit and I just said, if Elaine Ingham is right and a cubic yard of compost has enough nutrition in it to grow enough vegetables for one person to last a year, and I look at my horses and my horses are healthy, and I look at my chickens and my chickens are healthy, my rabbits are healthy, and all of that stuff goes into my compost, and it's coming from, healthy animals, and I put this out there in the soil, and then I mulch really well with a hay source that actually is, full of seeds, pasture grasses, and I cover crop with it, and I keep repeating that process. I'm going to build up soil like it's nobody's business. And that's kind of where I've started to focus the majority of my attention and focus on the soil food web and not try to do so much through the foliars, because I didn't want to fake myself out into thinking that maybe everything down below the soil surface was just perfect. But I was like they're kind of like feeding it along, and I was faking myself out. So I don't know. Am I being jackass by saying, I want to get my soil right before I just sit here and throw foliars at it?
Oh, fuck no, man, not at all, dude. I'd tell you right now, you got a setup that's way on and above what most anybody even listening can do as far as no-till or living. That's why I wanted to jump on, because I'm like you got rabbits going on, horses going on. You flip your compost for 2 fucking years. Like, I wanted to buy some of that shit. I was coming up to see if I could hustle some of that off you.
I want to have it tested. That's what I want to do, and I haven't done it. I mean, you get to the point where you just like, God, do I really? I know everybody says test it and get your soil tested and do this, and I'm like, dude, I look at the plant. The plant tells me whether I'm doing everything, I'm doing everything well, below ground. And it's just been hammered into me. My job is to build soil. I don't feed a plant. I feed the first level of the soil food web, and I make sure all the other guys are in place, because if there's not the bacteria and the fungi from my compost, then the protozoa and the nematodes can't eat it, and then the microarthropods and the worms can't come through and eat them, and then nothing becomes plant available. And I think I've got to have all of that in place, and it makes sense if I'm doing all of this with native biology, and that's the practice of K&F, which is really where I seem to land before I just said, screw this, I'm already sitting. You know why the villagers came up with all those K&F processes, and they had to go out and put all that rice out there and trap that stuff, right?
No.
It's because they didn't have 10 cubic yards of shit. They didn't know what to do with at the end of the year, because they didn't have 2 horses, 2 flocks of chickens, and 2 rabbits, and a deep litter system. They didn't have all this stuff. They didn't have a 32 horse Kubota diesel with a bucket on it. They just couldn't do it. I'm sure if they were sitting around one night smoking a jib, and they said, what are we going to do with all this shit? Maybe they'd have done that. I don't know. But in my situation, that's what I'm looking at. And my hay comes from a mile away. I've never had the hay tested, but the guy doesn't spray. But so that feeds the horses. It also goes into the rabbit barn. I use a deep litter system in the rabbit barn. Excuse me. So the hay will get about a foot deep through the winter, and everybody does what they do. And the chickens turn it all up. The rabbit cages are actually up off the straw so that as they shit, it falls straight through down into the litter below them. And the chickens, they have a field day with that. They just churn it all up and they keep it all aerated and they compost it all. And it, come spring, and I'm actually behind on it this year, but usually in the spring, I take all of that up and I blend that all in with the compost. And, it's that stuff and the stuff from out in the horses. And people have seen it, mushrooms grow in it. I don't know what's going on in the gut of those horses, but, they shit and 3 days later, boom, there's a mushroom. So I'd like to have it tested, but, it's all kind of that permaculture thing, just that whole continuous cycle of cycling those nutrients through the farm. And as they cycle through the farm, they just get stronger and stronger and stronger. When I take that compost and that compost goes out and, and it feeds my herb gardens, and I go out there and I grab plantain and then I feed that plantain to the rabbits, and it all just, and the chickens come out and scratch around in the gardens where I've thrown compost all over the place, and they're eating bugs and the bugs are eating the plants. And it's kind of just this big, the more times you can cycle those nutrients, the better off you are, the less energy you're using. And that's kind of what I fell on. So in trying to do all of that, I totally slipped away from all of those. I haven't even really made a compost tea this year. I made one at the beginning of the season, but as far as making any during the season and doing any foliars, I really haven't done it. I've just kind of relied on kind of what I'm doing, and I'm just going to see where it goes. It's really, after bumbling through this outdoor stuff the last few years, trying to figure out a system, I stumbled on this one when last year at the beginning of the year it was right after Regen. We went to the Regen conference and we're listening to Elaine, and, here I am already turning all this compost and everything. And Elaine says, compost, 1 cubic yard of compost, enough nutrition for one person for enough vegetables for a year. And I went, well, shit. I mean, do I really have to test all of this stuff? I mean, look where it's coming from. Look what it's doing. And that's kind of why, so yeah.
No, they're gorgeous, man. And I think
use what you got.
That's awesome for that sand you got too with the dunes. So like you keep piling that up. I mean, that's all organic matter and shit getting put down in there. It's gonna be a fucking killer, man, for sure.
You saw those videos I put up?
Yeah.
All right. Back beyond that enclosure where I've got my plants, there's a hill and it kind of goes up towards the back. And I took the second permaculture course that Jeff Lawton offered online. I took that course. I'm certified by Lawton. So my design project was a living system, and I haven't even started growing pot in it yet. But next year, I think next year is the year. All I got to do is build a fence to enclose this. But there are 3 swales that run up there, and the whole idea was a chicken barn up at the top with a deep litter system. And so you've got the barn on one half, and then you've got this open yard, and the chickens can come out, and you throw compost and everything out there, and the chickens all turn it up. And every time it rains, it starts to seep through that compost, and the water works its way down into the first swale. Like, are you familiar with what a swale is?
I am, but explain it really quick because
All right. Basically, in permaculture, which is basically a design science, looking at nature and using natural systems and figuring out how we can work with nature and incorporate that into our gardens and into what we're doing. And what a swale system is on contour across the land. Think of a ditch. You dig a ditch on contour across the land, and the soil from the ditch goes on the downhill side. So it's kind of like a berm with this ditch behind it. Then downhill from that, you repeat the same process. Another ditch on contour, fold the land over, and you create this berm. The whole idea is, especially, and it happens here in those videos that I posted, I was walking out to the chicken barn when I showed the chicken barn in the deep litter system, and I scooped down and I said, oh shit, look, sand. And I held up a handful of sand. That sand wasn't there 2 weeks ago. The rain washed that shit all the way down the hill from the horse barn, and it washed this much sand that was on the surface of the 2-track going out to my barn and washed it down there. So what happens with our sand is it gets very, very hydrophobic, and then erosion is a beast. So what a swale does is it's designed to capture the runoff as it runs off. It captures water and displaces it across the land and allows it to seep in, and it wets that berm in front of it, but the water plumes out as it goes down the grade. And the whole idea is you're impregnating the land with water that would have really run off just and been lost as runoff, and you wouldn't have captured it in your growing space. And what I find really kick-ass is they can build these swale systems in what's pretty much like desert or arid climates. And because they get a couple big rain events a year where that would just wash away, it's now starting to seep in. And you're getting growth where there was no growth before. And down at the bottom of these grades, you're actually getting springs that pop up because the land is so loaded with moisture that springs just pop up down below. And what's really kick-ass about this system that I did, even though I didn't plant it with trees, even though I didn't plant it with vegetables, I built the swale system and I threw in cover crop. I've got 3 swales with an overflow, because the whole idea with a swale is this swale captures water, it seeps into the land, but if the swale overflows, you've got to have a place where the water can overflow, run down safely so you don't get erosion, because you plan for the big event, like the 100-year rain event. You plan for the biggie. So you've got to have an overflow. It goes into the next swale, overflow into the next swale. And then in my system, it overflows into this little frog pond. Well, I couldn't capture any water in this sand. It just run right through. So I took the liner of one of those old pools and I dug a fucking hole and I just lined this hole with this pool liner. And I've actually got this little fish pond down there, and I've got goldfish and I've got frogs and I've got tadpoles and I got all kinds of things. But what's really cool about this swale system is even in this sand, if you look up at the top in this drought that we've had, because it's just been flipping madness. I can go out midday and the trees have leaves that are drooping. And when you look at the grass and everything, it's just brown and it looks like a desert. And if you look at the top 2 swales, that's exactly what the ground looks like. But as you go down to that 3rd swale, all of a sudden it starts to green up and the blackberries are green. And there's actually blackberries. And you get down to the 4th one, and now you're starting to see clover growing. And I'm sitting here going, holy shit, this is actually working. And what it's doing is down there at the base by the pond, it's starting to saturate the soil and it's starting to work its way back up the hill. And I've only had it up there for 3 years and I haven't even really planted it seriously. But the whole idea is you plant it to ground cover and then you plant it to some native species like your legumes that are nitrogen fixtures and your pioneer species. And you plant this system over so that you chop and drop, and then it continues to grow. And you plant, like, I'm going to plant cannabis in with it. So I'm going to have a whole bunch of different cover crops and different designer.
So like terraced on that hill, you're going to grow the cannabis so the chicken shit will roll down on it?
Okay, so what's going to happen with the system is as the nutrients and everything, and it rains through the top, and that nutrition flows into the first swale, it'll slowly work its way down into the ground. And then over time, that nutrition will flow through that whole system. Because the whole idea is, how many times can I turn this nutrition over in this system and keep cycling this? Because the less inputs I have to put into the system, the better off I'm going to be. Not just because it costs money every time I bring inputs in, but because now I have microbes, and I'm not just cycling nutrition. When I think nutrition now, I'm thinking I'm cycling microbes. The microbes go through the ass of my chicken and they go into this compost. The rain washes this compost through the soil. It goes up through these plants. The plants die. I chop and drop them. It goes back into the soil. It breaks down. It starts working its way down until it filters into the pond. I take the pond water with all these goldfish in it and all these tadpoles and everything. I mix that 50-50 with some other water. I aerate it. I take it and I feed it back to the chickens, into the whole system. And you keep cycling this whole thing through. And that's really that's what I was thinking when I took this course was, holy shit, I'm already doing this here in this garden down here at the bottom. If I could build these swales in this hill and then cycle this whole thing, I've kind of got this permaculture swale thing that ends up in this frog pond that's actually like a goldfish pond. Now I'm kind of incorporating aquaponics into the whole system and cycling. So I don't know. It's just
No, man,
goofy.
I dig it a lot, dude. Especially if you could incorporate like even like some vegetation and stuff into the pond and like start working that way too, like purifying. I don't know.
Like,
I don't know. I mean, it build the biology in there, so whatever. You probably understand better ways taking that course, but
yeah.
Really quick, now you said maintaining the nutrients in the cycle, and I just wanted to kind of back up to that because that is a cool part about that system that it went by really quick, and I don't know. Anyway, so nitrogen cycle.
Yes.
But what you're talking about there is locking up nitrogen in biology versus the biology converting nitrogen back into what is an atmospheric version of it. So and then that's kind of what you're talking about, correct?
Correct. I mean, if you look at your compost and you look at, like, it's really hard to beat what goes through the gut of an animal. It's pretty much broken down. And if you can get that kind of nutrition, all your macro and your micronutrients that you would get from this compost, they're going to wash through that compost and they're going to go into the soil. In this case of this swale system, they're going to start to filter in through all of these swales. And then they go back down into the pond and that's what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to ditch the liner and then find a way to make that pond. That pond has been down there for, and I haven't gotten the guts to do it yet, but at some particular point, I'm going to have to take and pull that liner up and start to work on naturally sealing that, because really what that was is that was a hole in the sand, that I filled it with a hose and the next morning it was empty. So, it wasn't even mucky. It was empty. So I'm going to have to work on that. I'm hoping the compaction from like 3 years of that liner being there and the weight of the water and everything will seal it. But before I can actually get that thing to capture. Now, here's the cool thing. The other thing is, if this system works the way it's supposed to, I should be able to pull the liner at some point, and naturally the water that is seeping in, provided the runoff is big enough and the swales are big enough to fill the system, that should keep itself filled. Well, I don't know yet, but
It's cool shit though, man. I dig it.
yeah, it's a fun little project. And when I built it, I was thinking pot. I was thinking green beans that are legumes. I was thinking radishes and planting vegetables in that swale mound, companion crops for the cannabis. And I've got blackberries in there already, and I've got raspberries, and I've got clover as a ground cover, and just I'll go out there every once in a while with a weed whacker, and I'll just chop it and send it to the ground and let it grow back up, and just next year I want to fence it in, and grow it, and that'll be really, I'm looking forward to it for sure. Yeah. I think I can put 8 of them out there, 8 big ones.
Fuck yeah, dude. I know you can do big ones, so.
Yeah, well, and I've, it's so crazy. I feel bad for our brothers and sisters who don't have plant count, man. I mean, I'm not sitting on the full bang. I got 36 plants that I can play with, but it's enough to put 12 in that one enclosure and put 8 out there and see how big I can grow.
Yep. No, I'm jealous, man. That's a great setup, dude. And being able to grow the big trees like that is something. At some point in my life, I don't give a fuck if I'm old, whatever, and it's just the one damn plant I got outdoors. I am gonna grow a big one outside just to say I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fun. I think I want to try and see. I want to see how big I can actually get one here, because generally what I'll do is I start right around the beginning of March with my cuts inside, and that's when I cut them, and then I'll root them up through solo cups and then 1 gallons, and then they'll go to 5 gallons. And by the time they go to 5 gallons, they're about, I don't know, 3 foot tall and maybe 3 foot diameter, and they're bushes and they're in 5 gallons. And I put them out the middle of May. Well, what if I was to take and start one on like January 15th or so? And I grew it up to where it had already a stalk that was like this big around. And this stupid plant had like 3 feet of stalk. And then it was like this 4 foot freaking ball already. So that by the time I put it out, I'm putting out a 15-gallon pot or 15-gallon, pot with a plant that's already like 4.5 or 5 foot tall, and it already is this. I'm thinking maybe I'll take that 24 by 24 enclosure and see what happens if I dedicate like 1/4 of it, 12 by 12, to like one plant, put it right in the center of that, and just see how big I can actually get it. Because we should be able to.
I've seen guys doing that out west where they're transplanting like number 15-gallon pots and throwing big ass.
Yep.
Now, what do you think your limiting factor is then for size? Because I mean, I've also seen guys grow huge motherfuckers right from a seed, right out in the soil.
I got a buddy that's growing, that's got one right now that's about it's more like 12 foot tall. It's just a freaking beast. It was a volunteer that ended up. He's a 2nd-year grower, and it's just sick. His plants are freaking huge, but I know what this one was. It's just gonna break his heart. He doesn't want to chop it down, but I know it's an S1. It fell out of one of his plants last year, and he didn't have any males. So I think what he did is he's gonna grow a 14-foot herm. Oh no, man, that's a hard lesson. That's like my first year growing when I learned there were males.
Yeah, but what do you think?
Well, my limiting factor?
Yeah.
Sun.
Okay.
Sun. Yeah, sun. Where I am, where I'm growing on my property, in the fall when I really need it most, I kind of lose that evening sun. It starts to dip down below the trees a little bit. I could probably take out 6-7 trees and I would have it. They weren't there when I built the greenhouse. They just kind of grew into that space. Well, now it's ticking me off. So that was the only reason that I hadn't decided to try this already. Was I don't know if I've got the sun to do it. Everything else, well, besides, I really didn't know if my soil could grow a plant that big. I'm just now cocky enough to try it.
No, dude, honestly, I think you actually have an advantage with that because it's going to be a well draining, and that root zone, I think, is going to be a limiting factor for size. because I was consulting with some guys I know that grow outdoor, and they were discussing how they've always hit the same limit. You know, they're always, just to throw a round number, they're always like, I always limit at 5 pounds. Like, no matter how big I grow or whatever I do, trellis, non-trellis, it's always like that's the limit we can't break. And my first thought is, well, what's the limit on your root space? Like, where is your compaction layer? Where is that? You know, but being in that sand and on that dune, I mean, I can't imagine you're going to have a compaction layer to deal with or mess with. And if you can get biology and the, you know what I mean, the organic matter getting down there, you'll be fucking crushing, man.
That's the biggest problem with the sand is, you know, they keep talking about, you know, we're mineral deficient. Our soil doesn't, farm fields just don't have minerals anymore. Bullshit, man. Sand is made of rocks. Rocks are minerals. I mean, we've got minerals. What we lack is biology. In big ag, we've just killed the shit out of it because we've fertilized it so much the plants don't need the biology, so the biology's dead. Here where I live, it just dies because it washes right through that sand. There's nothing to hold it. So my most important job in life is to put organic matter and to get enough organic matter in that upper layer that worms and microarthropods and soil mites and everything, they pull that stuff down so that I can get organic matter into the soil so that it actually holds biology and it holds moisture. Otherwise, it just, you know, it just washes right through. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I used to do a lot of working with food plots. God, this is where the whole community wants to hang me. But 20 years ago, I was the guy who was working with the Quality Deer Management Association, and I was the editor of the state newsletter, and I sat on the state chapter, and I was the guy that taught people how to make food plots for wildlife. Oh shit, here's where everybody kills me. Yeah, man, I was almost like the king of like, let's spray Roundup because that'll kill the bracken ferns and establish the food plots real well. So that's literally where I came from like 20 years ago. And it got to the point where, you know, you're building all these food plots and stuff. And now all of a sudden you sit there and you watch it struggle and you watch it struggle. And there were parts of my property where I had planted where nothing would grow anymore. I mean, you'd look at native vegetation and it just wouldn't grow there. And I started reintroducing biology and reintroducing compost and stuff in compostees. And now I've got areas that are starting to regrowth and everything. And you just, all of a sudden, you just become a believer and you just like, you know, shit works.
Yeah, man. That's badass.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so you've got to, with that sand, you've got to get the biology into it because it just doesn't hit the organic matter. It just doesn't hold anything. So that's, you know, once I realized that fungi secrete acids and they break down rocks and they break down minerals and they make those minerals plant available because they tap into the plant roots. Well, how am I going to hold the fungi in this sand if I don't have any organic matter? I'm not. So I think I can foliar feed and I can spray whatever the hell I want, but until I put organic matter and I get it down there, I'm just shooting myself in the head.
100%, man. That's exactly what I'm learning myself. The lesson there is like, biology, have the space, like building the soil with the thought of how is the biology going to be able to breathe and function and live and prosper and grow. Because I think no matter what, otherwise, you're going to pour a tea on, you're going to pour whatever bug in a jug you choose, whatever powdered bug you choose. You know what I mean? You're just going to keep throwing that at it. But you're like shooting people to Mars with no fucking atmosphere that they can survive. You know what I mean? Like you're just dumping them to be fucking dead. Like it's
all right. This is the way this is the way that I explained it when I was getting into KNF, and my mom asked me, well, what is this KNF? I said, well, it's using native microbes rather than buying this, because man, and I love the product. I still use it and I still have recharge. Okay. And I know what recharge is, and I know the biology in recharge. Okay. It's not bugs in a jug. Okay. But it's bugs in a bag.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So, you know, when I was explaining it to her, I said, but KNF is a little bit different because it's using the biology that live here. It's kind of like you got a sugar plantation in South America, but the South Americans, man, they want too much money. So you work your plantation with a bunch of Eskimos, but they keep, you know, they can't handle the heat. They stroke out, they die. So now you got to go get more Eskimos. And you keep having to run into this big where you just got to get more Eskimos. Eventually you just start working with the natives, and, you know, everything starts chugging along just the way it's supposed to, because, you know, they're built to work in that kind of an environment. And that makes sense to this. That makes sense to my brain. So
my big joke is, well, I guess if you got to have all the CFU counts on there to make sure you got everything right, like they got all that shit from somewhere in nature. They didn't just fucking make it up. You know what I mean? Like, if you got to make sure it's all accounted for, I guess. Like,
Yep.
but it's
So
so
that's
true, man, because you can get all that biology from good worm castings, good compost. You know what I mean? The rabbit shit, the horse shit, stuff you're doing.
Yep.
I wouldn't see any need to fucking try to add a bunch of, you know, whatever kind of mammoth or none of that. You know.
After my third failed IMO collection, and then I finally got one right. It was like one whole summer trying to learn how to do IMO collection so that I could take and put that biology into and make a liquid IMO, and I could fertilize. And I said, God, if I just throw all this stuff on the ground and I just water through it, I mean, what? Why am I driving myself crazy trying to do all this other stuff? Because, I mean,
it's beautiful, man. That's
you know, but I tell you what, if I didn't have all that other stuff, I would most likely be doing KNF. If I lived in my old house, you know, in the side of town, I would be doing KNF. If I didn't have 10 yards of shit that I needed to deal with, you know, like you go back 3 years ago before I got that tractor with a bucket that can handle a third of a yard. I wasn't doing this. You know, I had a little compost pile, but I could have never done what I was doing now. It required the equipment to do it. So if I didn't have that, I'd be doing something different, because I just couldn't do it. It's hard to do, you know, on that kind of scale.
Yeah, no, totally. That's why I'm trying the best I can with it, but that's why I was digging it, man, with the tractor and all that, and doing it the way you do. Like, you couldn't buy compost like that. I'm just saying, like.
No, I can buy some compost from a place down south of me, very, very well known. They make a compost in a soil mix that's very well known, and it's all steer compost, and it's good, but it's only broken down for 4 months, and by the time you get it, that's just not long enough. To me, it seems like it's still a little bit hot, but the one thing about aging that compost and turning that compost is constantly getting inoculated with all of the native airborne microbes that, you know, for the period of a year, for the period of 2 years. And I still turn it, you know, as it's going through. So, I think it's hard. It would be hard for me to do better than that, than making teas with that stuff, or taking that stuff and using it as the basis for my worm bin. I do have a worm bin. I find that probably, if somebody was going to say, what's the hardest thing about growing? The fucking worms. What? I can't grow a worm bin to save my ass. It either gets too wet or it gets too something, and the damn thing's just, all of a sudden I look in there, I'm like, where'd you guys go? It's gone. I don't know.
Yeah. No, there's definitely some different, you know, like balances to it, drainage.
Yeah. But I'd love to do that. I would love to do. I do believe that it is truly hard to beat what comes through the gut of a worm. I was told, however, by somebody, and I do believe that look, you can't just use worm castings. You've got to use compost too, because there's a lot of micronutrients and a lot of minerals that you will get in compost that you won't get in an earthworm casting. And I don't know if that's true, but when I take my compost and I use that as the bedding for my earthworms, I'm putting that stuff in there. So I don't think it's really going to matter much.
Yeah, it does matter. Like, so it matters what they eat, whatever the worms eat.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you can have poorly done worm casting.
I mean, most people, I think, are using shredded cardboard, shredded newspaper. Maybe they'll use some straw or something like that. And then they're feeding them vegetable scraps and household, food scraps and stuff like that. And yes, if you were doing that, I could understand why, they're mineral deficient, unless you're growing all your own vegetables and you're feeding them the scraps of big eggs. So yeah, I could think maybe you would need some healthy compost in there, but I always wanted to start my worm bins with that compost, and it just seems I still can't get the suckers I can't get them to winter. They do really, really well in the spring. It's just I bring them inside and then they don't do so well over winter.
Huh.
I don't know.
Can't
figure it out. Yeah. Where'd Eagle go? Did we put him to sleep?
3 different kinds of shit going over there, Rascal. Do you really need to add more into it?
Too funny.
Oh man, I appreciate the fact about the rabbit shit aspect of it too, man. That's something that's being pushed a little bit more in the cannabis industry. Well, we've got a common friend here that sells it, Bad Bunny Nutrients there for one.
Yeah.
And
it's hard
Indra
to beat
was on last night, and he was fucking talking about that's his system, man. He's like, man, 50% rabbit shit right in the hole, right off the bat.
Eagle, I got a buddy that goes 75% rabbit shit, and that's his regular mix. He's gone 100% rabbit shit because rabbit shit's the only thing that you can actually put on directly into your plants. Won't burn it. That I know of anyway. There might be something else, but I know with rabbit shit, you can put that on directly. You don't even have to compost it. So in that regard, yeah, I don't doubt it.
I would think aeration would be about the only thing you'd want in that 100%.
I would think, yeah.
Not that again, and that's where he benefits in that same. When you're talking about, how you could create some monster plants and increase some yields. There's a couple of things. I don't grow outdoors, but I've spoken to a lot of people who have, and a lot of California growers out there that, produce some pretty good numbers. And what I hear kind of across the board is deep roots, and from seed, if whenever possible, that taproot vigor and depth. And even last night again with speaking with Indra, I thought was, I was sitting there really kind of taking some notes while I was listening to him, and he was talking about that grow. And one of the things a couple things he struck me about his grow was he was claiming that 25-foot around monsters is what they were growing in his last grow. Yeah, yes, sir.
Really?
And he was talking of, yes, sir. Go back and listen to it. There's a couple of good things.
Smile, Rascal got a gleam in his eye, like
Rascal. Rascal, listen
done.
to me. There's 2 things that he'll get out of that. One, he almost blatantly gave a recipe for how to pretty much get mescaline in legal ways, how to make it, which I'm sitting here going, all right. And then he talked about, his old way of growing, before he necessarily had to quit there, back when they were actually pulling permits and working with the sheriff there. Remember that stupid move? Well, they were able to go 100, and then they limited them down to 25. And he's like, fuck them, man. We started growing plants that were 25 foot around. And he was talking about A, going deep, and B, splitting the plant almost into fours, you know, and then bending her down and manipulating her like that.
Yep.
And it was pretty amazing stuff. But what I'm getting here too, and what I think's a good thing here is, if you could buy like them cement tubes, you know what I mean, and encourage that plant to go deep. You know what I mean? That way, when you go outdoors, you've got that 4-foot monster that you're talking about, but you've got nice, slender, deep root zone there, to where you could almost go out, you know, have a nice channel in your greenhouse where that bed's always the same. You got to fuck with it. You're just in top, you know, feeding on top, feeding on top, and then you know, every year just go right upside next to that old plant with the fucking. When two main fucking tillers, you just go out there, kind of cut that cement jacket off, drop it in the hole, and feed her. You know what I mean? And now you've got 3-foot deep roots right off the get, and you know you're down there in the sand where you can, you know, let them dry out a little bit, but all that good soil would be washing down constantly in that root zone there. You know, it'd be constantly top dressing, feeding it. Basically, I think it would be it's a big, vigorous plant.
I just want to say I'm so
theory.
proud Eagles talking organics. It's so awesome.
What? Yeah, he said it'd be awesome to go 3 foot deep with a root system. I think that's probably the coolest thing right there. You're gonna watch. He's gonna pull out he's gonna be digging a 6 foot deep hole in his backyard because he's gonna grow a 12-foot plant, except only 6 of it's gonna be above ground. Totally hidden from the neighbors.
No. I'm just talking about getting out there with like a hole digger there, post hole digger, 2-man.
Yep.
With a 12-inch bogger and just dropping her down there.
Shabogger. Yep.
I've seen guys doing it, man. They fucking do it right on a bobcat with the drill, on the drill down, and then 2 guys are taken to do the transplant. Just boom, drop the 15s in the hole.
I totally believe in having a taproot and growing from seed. That's one of the things that, you know, going into that old can of seeds, that's what we used to do. I mean, everything every year, we didn't grow inside. We 30 years ago, you know, in 1992, we weren't growing inside and doing this whole rotation thing. So everything went outside from seed. And yeah, we used to grow much bigger plants than growing clones. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start getting back into breeding my own stuff, is that as I start working these lines, and I thought I was going to have to start all over, but it looks like I'm picking up right where I left off. So, you know, once we get back to doing that, yeah, man, to grow from seed in the ground, that'd be awesome. If I did that, I could start outside. I could start probably right around the end of the first week in May. Temperatures would be really cold, but I could grow under 2 layers of plastic, like 2 hoops. And I think I could start out there the second week of May. We got the light to do it.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, Rascal, with the tubes, though, brother. Is start out your seed in a tube in January. Let that taproot just go fucking straight down in that 3-foot cylinder. And then, you know, you got your 4-foot plant with a 3-foot taproot. Now you're dropping that bitch in your hole. That's what I'm talking about. You've got a nice taproot. You're not dropping a clone in there. You're dropping a fucking...
Brother, did you just say you got 3 feet of tube with 4 feet of plant sticking out of it? Well, I'll just take out the floor of my...
In theory, you could. Why couldn't you?
Yeah, well, in theory... Well, because I'd have to take out the floor of my house. I'd need 2 floors to do that. I mean, that's 7 foot of plant, man. That'd be cool, though. I'd love to do it. I mean, I don't know how big my ceilings would have to be, but could you imagine that? Taking that kind of a pot?
There's
even at that, I mean, you could train it to be a bush. I mean, you wouldn't have to let it come up. I mean, you could actually start training her to be that 25 footer. You know what I'm saying? You could already start low stress training her. It wouldn't have to be that 4 foot tall. It could just be a wide monster that you're taking out there with a long taproot.
So doing something like that though, like you're saying, like doing that in your veg room, already starting it like that.
Yeah. But a long cylinder, so you're encouraging one long taproot instead of a web or a clone. Because even a clone, you're not getting a taproot. You're getting a webbed system. You're not getting a taproot.
Correct.
Shoot down and
correct.
Yeah, that's where you get
Correct.
your vigor, I believe, outdoors. It's
you gotta
taproot.
You gotta fit that fucker through the door, right?
It's the same thing I was thinking too.
Here, I'll just
Come on. Look at this, guys. I jammed this plant in here. Look, see that fucker? You probably can't. There's like a 4-footer I bent down. It's one plant in that first bay that's 4 foot. And I shoved her in that fucking bay the other night, man. Just like I spun her like a door. There you are.
hey, Smiley, the next thing he's going to suggest is that we build that 3-foot container with horizons, and he's going to want us to put a foot of stone in the bottom.
Yeah, no shit. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right.
You gotta do it right.
So I was wondering on these old genetics you got, how easy do you think these seeds are gonna be to pop? Are you kind of talk about it like in stride, like, oh, I found all these seeds, they're just gonna all magically pop for me, and I get to hunt them through. And I'm thinking, how old are those seeds?
They were the youngest one in the bag that he found was from 04.
So you're good, 16 years.
16, and most of them. So it was right before his kids were born. He ended up stashing this can, and he forgot he even did it, lost it. Well, his kids were cleaning the attic, and they found it. So yeah, it's all the genetics from 90, 92, 93, and stuff that he had worked since then, and up to about 2004, and then he packed them all away. So yeah,
that'll be interesting. I mean, do you have techniques for old seeds, or you just run at them your normal way, or?
Generally what I do is I try it the normal way, take 10, 12, try it, see. Generally I use 10 and see if I can get them to pop. 24 hours soak in water, 24 in paper towel, which is my normal process. If that doesn't work, the next thing I'll do is I'll go to a scarification with like a little medicine vial, and take a fine grit sandpaper and turn it so the scratchy side is in. Take the seeds, put them in the vial, put the lid on. It just scratches the surface just to kind of break down the surface of the seed. And then I'll soak them for like 20 minutes in like a compost tea or a recharge or some kind of a microbe soak, trying to get those microbes into the seed shell, just to give it a start. And then I'll go directly to paper towel, and I'll try it that way. Beyond that, I've never even had to even worry about it. And so that's what I'm going to try, those two methods first. And thank God that the cross that I'm really interested in is the Northern Lights by Shiva Shanti. And there's like 300 of them. So I should have the ability to play around with a good, 20, 30 of them. I'll know before I'll probably do 10 in water and paper towel, then try scarification, and then I'll yell for help.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I ask Ninja, he'll say just soak them in herb. So I don't know. Maybe I'll soak them in herb. I have actually found that people have had really good luck with old seeds soaking them in herb. I've never used it, but
No, that's interesting. I got some old Northern Lights ones too that from a buddy, and I just had no luck for getting them to pop. So it's kind of
what have you tried?
I tried the 24-hour soak, 24-hour paper
Okay.
towel, which was my method back then. And then I tried with a soak with a touch of full power or fulvic acid
Yep.
in the initial soak, and then into the paper towel from there, and that didn't work. I tried scarring them in a matchbox, similar to what you were describing.
Yep.
I didn't have that work so well. I got a nut or the seed cracker, but
how is that?
I've been fucking around with seeds I didn't care about. So like, I don't know, whatever bag seeds I got, I kind of throw them off to the side. But I've been cracking them, and it's not as easy as it looks. I'll say that. So don't.
Does it work?
Get one practice on some seeds you don't give a fuck about, because I haven't even done it on ones that I care about yet, because I'm not feeling like I got it down that much. You know what I mean?
Have you had them root?
No, I really haven't. I smash them too much or something. I don't know, but I throw them in a rooting cube or whatever, and they don't really take. So I haven't tried it with these valuable ones. But
is that your preferred method? Is direct to soil cube?
Yeah, I usually do like a root riot cube and write it.
Okay.
Stone, and I have great luck with fresh seeds that way. But,
really, in a root riot cube?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I always found that the root riot cube was like too dense or something like that, and I didn't seem to get it to work real well.
Yeah, I never did either. I always kept them too wet, I think, in the past. So now it's kind of like you get them to where like you're not really dripping any water off them, you know what I mean? But then the ones I get have like a little hole kind of notched in them, and the seed kind of pushes down in there, and it holds the moisture right around the seed a lot better. I don't know.
I think that's probably what I did. Is I think I probably waterlogged the stupid root riot cubes, and they ended up killing off the taproot. And that was probably what it was. What was that?
What I do is different, because I use the root riot cubes too, and I get 100% damn near every time with them things. I soak them.
Okay.
I soak them real quick in some Clonex at 1 gal at 10 mils, and then I let them sit in there for a minute, and I pull them out, and I just give them a one quick shake. But I don't put them in the trays, you know what I mean, up like they're supposed to be. I flip them upside down, and I take a drill bit real quick, and I go right through the center of it, and then I put my seed in there like that, and then I put them upside down in the little pyramids in my little clone dome. I got a little, probably about a 6x10 little hard dome, and man, I get germination every time, 100%, almost every time, unless it's junk seed. And that's my preferred method. Sometimes I toy around and put them in a glass and let them pop like that. Usually, if I'm going into like a fine cocoa or something like that later on, maybe that'll be my germ rate. I'll let them crack, and then I'll put them right into the soil or whatever. But I prefer the root riot cubes, because I go into the chunky cocoa, and they don't like them little babies don't like that chunky cocoa. They like the root riot cube to develop in the root riot cube before they go into chunky cocoa. But if I'm going into like a finer, like Coco Loco, from water to just drop them in there in a little hole.
I think eventually I'll end up making my own soil blocks. I've never really done it. My parents have a soil block maker. They use it for their garden. It works real well. The Quaker guy who taught me organic gardening, he makes all of his own. He uses all of his own soil blocks. Those were, you know what a soil block is?
I've seen them where they have the similar to like your cloning tray, but they're all squared out, and then you just fill them with your soil media and kind of pack them down, and it's similar to like your plugs. But if that's what you're talking
you basically take this mold and you've got your soil mix with a little bit of clay compound. You want some organic material in there because you want it to be able to hold its shape. So you take your mold and you make your little soil blocks, and maybe they're like, that big by that big, kind of tapered, just like a little pot size. And they've got a little hole in the top of them. Well, it's like making a sandcastle. You pack them in there and then turn them upside down, and that becomes your little plug. And you put your clone or you put your seed right in the soil block. And the whole idea is that soil block just becomes your little pot. And it air prunes as the roots grow and everything. It air prunes because it's open around the sides, but it's held together. It's like this little sandcastle growing a plant, and then you scoop it up and transplant it. I'd like to kind of play around with that because then I'm not relying on the little riot cubes, which is what I use now. But I'm certainly not there yet.
I dig that idea.
Yeah, it's neat. Man.
It's dab song time or something, ain't it?
I think so. I'm just I ended up picking up a Source Orb Versa and just firing on some rosin I made. Yeah, so cheers.
Cheers, man.
I don't know where the hell my rig is. Yeah, I'm always like feeling out the gas on the dab song.
Well, I don't want to do too many and get too stupid.
No, have you ever watched Embracing Organics?
Yeah.
Tanazi's got the dab bell there. We've actually got a little song. Little song we do over here. Well, since I told you about it, I might as well play it, and hopefully it's not too loud in your headphones, bro. This is an intermission by The Offspring. This is a dab song. Oh.
Ooh.
Man, these old construction logs don't like them dabs. But I do. Good stuff. What are you dabbing on? Oh, you said Rasa.
Yeah, some butter I made from Duke Diamonds Munson. Total batter.
How'd you like that, Munson? I got those seeds. I was thinking of cracking.
It's an experience. They're not stable. So you're gonna get some. I didn't notice it outside at all. It's really kind of weird. I heard Mean Gene say this once. It was in a comment where he was making a comment to somebody about a strain, and he said, Well, I wouldn't run it inside. It's just not stable enough to run inside yet. Like, what's he talking about? But that Munson was exactly that way. Outside, it was solid as hell. But I think because it's a 60-ish day, 65-ish day strain, at least some of the phenos are. A couple of them lean towards the Northern Lights Garlic Mom, and those will go fast. But the others, they're a little bit behind. And I think with our season up here, I didn't really get them to go the full term. They were solid as hell outside. Inside, shit, I've got one good solid mother, meaning she doesn't throw a late season nanner, because most of them kind of did. So it was something that you just kind of had to watch out for. I picked one of their brothers to do some breeding, and I bred him to my cheese strain. I bred him to my green ice and my velvet hammer, and all three of those strains threw wicked herms on all of their offspring. That boy was bad to the bone. So like most of those others, so I kind of think that's why Duke didn't talk about it that much. And Munson was used as a freebie after I had ended up buying it. It was on a BOGO. It was a buy one, get one. It was the freebie part of it. So I think maybe that Northern Lights mom was just a little tweaky, because I don't think it was his Dominion male. So, but the one that I got, that I kept, my Munson 3 pheno, that thing is a beast. And it's one of these strains that it has like the Northern Lights, it's got a very flippin' high ceiling. So where with a couple of the jars that I've got, you'll smoke a joint, you'll get stoned. You smoke a second joint, you're still stoned. You smoke the third joint, hey, you're still stoned. You smoke 3 joints a month and you're going to pick yourself up off the flipping floor, just because its ceiling is way the hell up here. So if you want to go through the hell of just kind of that tweaky bullshit where you're going to flip a late season nanner and you don't want to use it for any breeding stock, but you want something that smells like dank oil rags and piney funk, and it's got this kind of like sweet little kind of side to it, but it smells like somebody shit all over. It's just dank. It's rank. It smells it's delightfully gross.
It sounds delicious.
Oh, dude, it is one of those. It's the one thing that was always so cool about playing around with the roadkill was that something that smelled that much like it came out the ass of a skunk, and then it tasted like it did. It was like that shock and awe, like you never expected it to taste. That's what this is. This is such good joint smoke. It's one of my daily go-tos as a joint smoke, because it's kind of like smoking a pot cigar. It's just that rich, earthy. It smells absolutely raunchy, but the flavor it's delightful.
Man, I'm thinking I might crack that one sooner.
Yeah, just keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. And it's, unfortunately, it was something that I had actually planned. I had actually planned when I bought it. I sent Duke a DM, and I asked him, "Hey, dude, what do you think's going to grow out here and survive in northern Michigan?" Because he lived in Michigan before, and he said, "Oh, you got to run the Munson." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, sure. It's got Northern Lights in it. I'm wanting to get back to that Northern Lights anyway, because we ran it way back when." And that's kind of why I bought it. And it's a lot like that Northern Lights, but be a little bit cautious about it.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Good to know,
Yeah,
though.
so-
I mean, hey, at least you know what you're getting into. A little bit.
Here's the deal. It's going to throw a late season nanner. What that means is you're going to look at, at that bud right there, and that bud would have wanted to be harvested on day 60. On day 58, you're going to wake up and you're going to go down and look at it, and your top cola is going to have 3 nanners on it. And then you're going to chop it, and you're going to go, okay, I chopped you 2 days early. That's my keeper from that pack. But I'll deal with it for what it is. So
Yeah.
I think have you go ahead. What was that?
No, I think it gets that way with some of the smoke, that especially like we all grow because we love smoke, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And when you're coming from that position, you willing to kind of go, yeah, maybe not so much in this category, but man, I really like this one, you know.
Yeah.
You kind of pick and choose what you want, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of like, as strains that you just wouldn't. The Vortex was like that. When I bought that pack of Vortex, I really didn't want to run that one because I knew it was going to kind of be a pain in the ass and everything. But it's got so many old school terps in it, and then I'm just willing to give it a try and put up with a little bit of hell of something that I might have to train and support it, and and give it a shoulder to lean on, because just to get that head stash, that magic plant.
That's the GG4, man. It's like one of them kind of plants, but I don't know. I hate harvesting it. She's like kind of wispy and whatever. You start smoking it, and you're like, yep, now I remember why I grew
up. Yes, that is a really good plant. But it does. Yours throws those round little balls on it, on those.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I'll
like
fall off when I'm trying to pull them through the scrog and shit like that. It's like,
yeah, but they're dense as shit and easy to trim, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, because then that's what that nom nom is like. It's the same thing. The structure is exactly, it's 50% glue, so that structure is the exact same way.
I got Tuscadero, which has nom nom in it, but yeah.
That nom nom is a crazy plant. I can't believe how many expressions. I mean, the one I got is special, but I saw one that was pink, one that had purple in it. I'm like, Jesus, I didn't. Wow, that's a crazy plant.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Cool.
I'd like to run it again. Yeah. That one was given to me, man. I ended up bumping into a guy at the VIP tent at one of the High Times Cups, and we shared a joint, and he says, man, I brought 2 seeds for somebody that I knew would think they're special, and he handed them. It was nom nom. It was just, yeah, totally. Pop one was a different strain, and this nom nom was just, it would have been a keeper in a pack, and so I just had one. It was cool.
Dig it.
Yeah, it'll grow outside. It's out there. But it does the same thing. It's got Cherry Pie by Mainline OG is the dad in there. And the structure on mine is totally Gorilla Glue, but it's like Gorilla Glue meets Cherry Pie. It's really good. Yep. What's the Tuscadero? What's in that?
It's nom nom crossed to their black cherry cheesecake cookies. So I got that because I was after that black cherry cheesecake cookie, because I had that from Midnight Roots.
Really?
Just we were at an event. It looked really pretty. It's purple and it was nice nug. So I bought some and it was so delicious, man. It was one of the memorable kind of flavors.
Black cherry cheesecake cookies.
Dude, it's totally black cherry too. It's so delicious.
Really?
Yeah. And they just did an F2 of it. So I got to Scapegoat. They got an F2 of it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if that means I'm gonna find one that's like the one I'm hoping or what, but it's the genetics of it. So
that's really, really cool. Yeah, I saw that. I was one of Wee Woo's posts. I saw black cherry cheesecake cookies. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Royal Kush Punch.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, man. If you ever are at an event and see Midnight Roots or whatever, shout out to him because he's had it. I mean, it's a cut that he shared back to Wee Woo and them. I think they used it in the F2 even. So whatever
Really?
one Dino hunted, it was very, very. He did a great job with it.
Wow. Do you know if does it run outside?
That I don't know. That's not part of my game, so it's not usually questions to ask there. So.
Yeah, that's and that's really what's crazy because when I do breeding and when I'm farting around with seeds and what am I going to grow and whose genetics am I going to grow? Okay, and do I go so far as to say, okay, where are they in the latitude? And then I go and check their fucking weather. Like, what is your weather like? Okay, is your weather like mine? Okay, what's the humidity like? Okay, and I start doing this shit because even if I breed inside here, the conditions in my inside grow room are not what I'm going to put them through out there. So, those seeds breed out there and they taste the elements out there. And, and that makes those seeds stronger. When they take in vegetables and they start making plants disease resistant, they'll actually infect them with like a powdery mildew. So that as the seeds are forming, the mother is in a battle with powdery mildew and she starts to build up resistance. And this resistance is passed on to the offspring and they start building up this resistance over time. So breeding out there where they're tasting all this stuff is even more of a concern for me than, were they bred in Michigan by this dude? Okay, well, does he breed inside or does he breed outside? And, because that matters too. It's a whole different, and eventually what you do is you say, okay, I like with this, I went out and I picked up some stuff from Happy Little Tree Company. I just picked up some of his gear. Yeah, so I've got this. I've been trying to run after his Blue Sun for a while now, and I just ended up picking up 3 packs. So I want to incorporate that into a couple of the strains that I'm doing because I'm fairly certain that his gear is going to do pretty good. He said the Blue Sun's. He's had people run it outside. Okay, so here's a guy that bred that shit here in this state, and he's had it tested not just inside here but also outside here. And I know the guy and he put his stamp of approval on it. I said, you know what, that's the kind of stuff that I want to put in. And people say, well, what's Blue Sun? This is some kick-ass weed that grows outside in northern Michigan. That's what I mean, really, that's so that's the kind of stuff that I really want to run. Rather than a lot of the hype stuff, I want to start running, stuff that has a fighting chance out here because it's brutal.
So how far are you away from having your own stock of breed that you're just planting your own seed? I mean, you found that 300 can was probably a great start of it.
That's going back to the stuff back in. Did you hear how that can of seeds started?
No.
Back in 1990, a guy that me and 2 buddies knew went to Amsterdam on a honeymoon, and sewn into the brim of his hat, he had some Northern Lights number 5 and some Big Bud seeds. Now, mind you, this is 1990, 89, because we ran them in 90. 88, 89, and 90, Northern Lights number 5 was the High Times Cannabis Cup winner in Amsterdam, and he got these from Cincy Seeds. So this is the real fucking thing. So that is in that particular can. So that's really, I'm really eager to get that back out here and run with it, because that runs out here for sure.
Oh, you need to have to breed with it. I mean, if you got males,
Absolutely. So that gear is there. I wanted to start breeding with the Munson, but that one turned out to kind of be disappointing. I've got two going right now. I found a gorgeous, the most gorgeous male I've ever owned and ever seen. I got from a pack of Cuvée, that second pack of Cuvée that I popped. I got 3 females and I got 2 males, and one male is absolutely gorgeous, and he's throwing pollen sacs right now like he was budding out, and I've got 4 females under him, so that's kind of exciting. So hopefully, these are genetics that I've had that, my cheese is under, my green ice is under them, and my velvet hammer is under them, and it's actually my son's at Evergreen at _Evergreen _Hayes.
Yeah.
Evergreen _Hayes. He's sitting right here watching comments. That's his strain, and that's sitting underneath the vortex. So, and that's that velvet hammer. That's crazy. He just gets his medical card in 18, and his buddy gives him this bag of seed, and they were playing around with some black cherry soda, and he hunted down a black cherry soda by Super Lemon Haze that is absolutely flipping incredible, and it grows wonderful up here. And I've got that plant under there as well. I've got that under the vortex as well. So yeah, I want to get back to playing with that stuff. That was the plan. This can just came up within the last week. It was just found. So, I have no idea. What could be in there. Dude, we were playing around. At one point, we were playing around with Garden Green. We were playing around with pink conning paralyzer. So I have no idea what's in the bottom of that can. There's 28 baggies of seed.
So, no name?
What? Oh no, there's all strain names, but there's some stuff in there labeled like, because these young didn't know much better. We were just working with maybe some killer stuff from the UP that was run outside that we found that didn't have a name or something like this. So you'll find like Northern Lights #5 by Experimental 2. And who the fuck knows what an Experimental 2 is? We can't remember. That was brain cells ago, and that's, so I asked him, I'm like, what's an Experimental 2? And he looks, says it was really good. So I don't know. There's, let's put it this way. I would love to have every bit of that back, and it's just kind of crazy because, that was the stuff that I had. And I just said, no, here, you take it. I'm going to go run all this other stuff because I can buy it. You take all of this. And then we thought it was lost. Literally, it went into 2 different places. One dude got busted, went to prison. He gives the seed stash to his buddy. His buddy's wife freaks out, puts it in the attic, and it gets cooked. And we thought that was the end of it. That was a spiral ring notebook. It had 40 pages in it. Like, you ever seen the little envelopes that jewelers will take and they got like diamonds in them and they're like spiral ring, 3-ring binder pages? Okay, it was like that, where there was like envelopes with like, 6 dozen seeds in it and a slip of paper with notes from the strains. My buddy was fucking anal. And there was like 40 different strains in this book that represented years of work from crosses that went all the way back to the 60s. My buddy gets busted, and then it ends up cooking, and the whole thing. Not one of them would sprout. It was in an attic that would get 100 degrees. It was just, it was gut wrenching. But this is the other half of that. So, yeah, pretty stoked. Pretty stoked.
I just think it's cool as hell that you mentioned him briefly, but I think it's fucking. I thought it was cool as hell when I met you and your son. That I was meeting you and your son. To be honest with you, how cool is it to be able to pass this fucking thing on to the boy? And moreover, when you seen that can of fucking seeds, I could just see you like looking at your boy like that fucking jar of coins you just found in the attic. You know, same thing. Do you realize what the fuck this is? You know what I mean?
No.
This might
You
look
know
like
what?
just quarters, but it's
What's
not.
really
Yeah.
Eagle, the craziest thing, man, is you listen, you know, we grow up and we're guerrilla growers, and we're kind of like hidden in the outback because we don't have this freaking culture that they've got out there in California and the West Coast, where, you know, you've got these pockets where they're basically like out in the hills of Mendo and they're dope hillbillies, you know. We don't have that here. But for him, it's really kind of crazy because it's the second generation, and he totally gets it because he watches the videos and he's seeing this on Instagram and he's seeing this on YouTube about, you know, hearing it from the words of people who are third generation from out there, and realizing that, you know, holy shit, I'm the second generation. My dad was kind of like those dudes out there. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. For me, it's kind of funny because it makes him totally fucking unrelatable with his friends. You know, yeah, it's really cool. And that's, so yeah, and to see him go out there and know what he knows now because he's listening to all you guys, and he's listening to the regen people, and he's following them on Instagram, and, you know, to realize that, you know, here's 23 and knows more about organics and microbiology than I knew when I was 43. And it's just, yeah, it's a trip. It totally, totally cool.
Huge leg ahead. So I know he's listening. So yeah, man.
Oh, he's sitting right here next to me.
You got it. The golden ticket right there.
It's well, hell, he knows all you guys. Yeah. Yeah, that is really funny, and we do talk about it, and, you know, and that's one of the things that, you know, as a dude who used to run through the woods, you know, with pots from helicopters so he didn't get busted, to see this group where we can all get together, dude, we all got together and we sat down and we listened to biologists talk to us about using organics to grow fucking weed. And 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, you would have never, ever, ever gotten Elaine Ingham to sit down and to do a talk and to talk to us like we were human beings. I am blown away, man. I'm going to get all jerked up over this because that's, to watch that go there and then see that, you know, he's feeding off all of this. Yeah, it's a trip for me. I'm blown away. There's not a day that goes by that I don't walk out there every morning, grab a joint, grab a cup of coffee, go out there and walk around those trees, look up at all of them and go, this is fucking Disneyland. Dude, I posted a picture on my Instagram of him 2 years ago sitting underneath the cheeses, kicked back in a chaise lounge with a bowl under him. The plants are like 12 foot tall, and he's sitting underneath a canopy. It's like starts off at like the 3.5, 4 foot level. Now, who does that shit? Nobody here.
No.
You know? Yeah, but you know what? They do now. That's, you know, so cool. And they're going to continue to do it.
You know, I want to give you some pretty cool shout outs of your achievements of the last few years, man. Well, for one, claiming your little spot there in the Mendo Dope video was pretty cool.
Oh, dude, I jumped right on that as soon as I saw them post that. They posted it, and God, man, dude, what is a 52-year-old redneck from Michigan doing listening to these white young guys from California rap about? But you know what? It's kind of funny, but I follow them on YouTube, and I got the notification, and like 45 minutes after they said, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do," I'd send them in the video. So that was pretty cool. Neat.
It's funny because I'm pretty sure it was Jodry. I could be wrong. I want to say you were at the Michigan Regen Conference, probably from last year. And I was kind of like listening to a bunch of his stuff. And I'm like listening to it, and then I hear a question. And I hear that raspy voice, and I'm like, wait a minute. I know that voice. And then I fucking like start really looking into the crowd. I'm like, that's fucking Rascal Farmer.
That was, dude, I'll tell you what. I've done a lot of crazy things. This is silly. Talking into my past. I used to go to a lot of conferences. I used to go to a lot of seminars. I wrote a monthly column for the trade association in my industry for 10 years, and I taught seminars on stages for like 10 to 12 years, like at the Las Vegas Convention Center and shit, to like 2,000 people standing on stage giving a business seminar. So I've been to a lot of different events. That Regen conference that I went to down in Ann Arbor was one of the most kick-ass, honest to goodness learning experiences I have ever had. And just to sit down between the talks with all the guys in the lounge with, all the different jars and the samples, and to hang out and to get to know these people and to talk about, organics and weed. Jodry was, he was one of the most outgoing every single break. That dude was in the lounge, sampling weed, talking strain knowledge, dropping bombs. At one particular point, he sat down at a table, and we totally skipped like one of the seminars because there were 7 of us sitting around at this banquet table with Kevin, and he's got this piece of paper and he's drawing out this shit. I've still got the piece of paper, drawing out the different cannabinoids and shit like this. And he's teaching us how to build regional strains and to put like Northern Michigan organic cannabis on the fucking map, and he did this for like an hour and 15 minutes, just sitting there, just chopping it up with us, man. It was insane. I mean, just like one of the dudes. Cool as hell.
The dude you always see him as online too is exactly who he was that whole fucking weekend, man. He's totally cool dude, talking to everybody. It's cool.
I know. The whole group was so down to earth. It was really, it was really cool. And that, and what really just made me just giggle like a son of a bitch was the numbers that we put out. The numbers were so damn good. I mean, it was, we packed that place.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah, that was fun.
I think there would have been this year too had it gone off. So it's a shame.
Yeah, for sure. Next year we'll pack the house again.
Well, there's the Organic Cup coming up. That's.
I was just gonna mention that. Are you gonna be there?
Yeah, I got tickets this year. I did not make it last year, and I regretted that. So I want to make sure.
You already got them?
Yeah, they're limiting the crowd, so I think you got to get tickets beforehand. So.
Oh, really? Okay. I was wondering if they were. I was kind of holding off because I wondered if they were going to get shit on. But what they're going to do is limit instead.
Yeah, because I think it's private party, and they're keeping it below whatever number, and I don't know. But it's a free entry for the Organic Cup, the actual flower cup that they're having, and they have concentrate and whatever. There's different categories, but I'm gonna enter a flower too. So.
Oh, you're gonna enter.
Yeah.
Nice,
Out,
nice.
man. It's a free entry. Yeah, fuck it. I don't know. Like, what's it gonna
really?
cost?
Okay, so if you buy a ticket, you get a free entry.
No, not necessarily, but you can get. I don't know, when I went online to buy the ticket, there was another ticket that was $0, and that was the entry ticket. So it kind of like whatever.
No shit.
August 15th is the deadline for dropping it off, and then yeah, the deal is the 23rd and the 24th. I think is the weekend of August.
Yes. Yeah, somewhere either that or 22nd, 23rd. But yeah, you're right. Yep, right that weekend. How much do they require for you to drop off?
I don't know. Actually, that's what I got to dig into a little bit more. I just got those details, and then it sounded like they were going to send out some kind of a package, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything, so I was going to dig into it this week and figure out.
Okay, now that which brings up a point. I'm glad you brought that up. So this is an organic cup, and everything is going to be certified organic. Now they're going to test your sample.
I have no idea what they do. They're going to smoke it, do whatever they do. I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if they were going to test it to find out if it's organic or if they were going to do something like that.
I don't think they have any way to find out, so they're just kind of taking everybody at their word for that.
I knew there was some kind of a waiver or something like that they were going to have to sign, a certify that, Scout's honor.
Yeah, no, this one actually is kind of beyond organic, or I wouldn't say that, but it's a probiotic.
Go ahead, say it.
I did it in the Earth box, so it's probiotic, man. It's fucking next level organic.
That's right. It's like beyond organics, or organics on steroids. No, not steroids. Steroids are bad. It's like organics on organics.
Yeah.
So, I wonder how much. I wonder how many people they're limiting it to.
I don't know. You should jump on, man. It'd be cool to see you there.
Yeah, no shit. Well, I gotta
bring some flour. You take some place. That'd be cool.
Right on, man. You know what? I'll take second place to you.
I'm just fucking around, man. Like, honestly though, I think there's a lot of great fucking dudes doing this. There's a lot of great growers that'll enter that. I say that all jokingly, but man, fuck.
Right.
There's gonna be competition for that one. It's gonna take some real fire.
For a guy who focuses on his outdoor, it's really hard, because you're talking about a harvest that was done last October. Unless you're focusing on, summer runs, saying, okay, this is my indoor run. I'm getting ready for the organic cup season or the cup season. It's hard, because you'd have to turn around, and now you've got jars that you've been saving and preserving for your cup entry weed, hoping it still stays cup entry caliber, and it's going to lose a little. Here's the thing that I find is I've got jars and stuff down here, and they're all from last year's outdoor. They smoke incredibly well. They don't look as nice as they did maybe, 4 or 5 months ago. So, they're not going to have they've lost a little bit of their bag appeal. Terp, smell wise, they're still really good, and they smoke even better than they did, but they're just not they don't have that pop. So you'd have to have some kind of a indoor run to get ready for it, and I just don't.
Yeah, no, and I really wasn't planning on it. It just kind of happenstance, and I had a really kick-ass down. So,
that's nice.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I think they do that with the Emerald Cup, because a lot of them guys harvest October, and then they'll have that like early in the year. I think they have that one.
They have that cup, and I know this because it's my birthday. Last year it was December 15th, is right around my birthday, and it was that weekend. So right around the end of that, and that would be perfect for an outdoor. That way, you've got everybody's outdoor. it's down. It's had a couple months to cure. Now we're gonna, all jarred up. It looks pretty. It hasn't been sitting around for 4 months. That would be the time to do it. But I don't think you'll ever be able to do that here.
Yeah, timing wise.
Yep. So it's not, if they're going to hold a cup in midsummer or late summer, it's really hard for that to be an outdoor organic cup. It'd have to be an indoor organic cup. And why? Why?
Oh,
I grow organic indoor, but I don't think it's safe for me to say that, I can do organics inside and achieve the full capabilities of the plant until I put sun into it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You should do that. Just start an outdoor organic cup.
Dude, I want to do an outdoor organic grow for sure, but I don't know. Let's start up an Eagle Gardens.
There you go.
Outdoor.
An Eagle Gardens cup.
You're right by that. You're right by the campground they just used for the whatever herb forest. So you can rent that. You can set it up. We got a platform to put it out. I want to be a judge though. There you go. Get to smoke really kick-ass weed and mark some papers, and we'll be good.
There you go. We'll have a raffle.
If I'm gonna do a cup, you know what kind of cup I want to do. I've already talked about that.
What do you want to do?
I want to do a terp cup where it's just based on a terp. This is the fucking pine cup. This is the lemon cup. This is the fucking, right down the line. Maybe every year change it. But that way you can find the best of the best for whoever, wants to fucking move on and work with that. But man, for somebody that, that like myself, that would like to find the best of the best, and maybe even a great way to, you get a whole state on a pine pop, you know what I mean? We might find some of that old shit that we were looking for back in the day. You get guys like yourself, them old tins going, I got that pine, motherfucker. Here you go. Some good shit's gonna come out of that, man.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll come up with a really, really couple killer crosses. We'll breed like 10,000 seeds. We'll put the whole state on a pheno hunt.
Yeah.
We'll call it Michigan Crush.
That'd be bad.
Statewide. Yeah, that's Jesus. But no, on a serious note, if one of us stumbled across a strain, how cool would that to go through the Michigan grow community and do get like 25, 35 people together and do a pheno hunt. Everybody grab a pack of 12 and run it. We see what we can get with the idea to build this, like regional or this regen strain that, really cool. That'd be kind of kick ass. Really when you're sitting down. Oop, there we go.
Hey.
Did I just black out for a minute?
Yeah.
Just for a sec.
Yeah, I just got a low battery warning on my phone. I don't even know what time it is. What time is it?
It's 2:31.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah. So I've got like 20% battery left in my. What was that?
It goes by fast, don't it?
Yeah, hell yeah. I had no clue. I'm sitting here thinking, 1 o'clock, 1:30, I'll check out. I gotta get up and go to work in the morning with. I'm good.
Oh, rats. Rats, with that being said. Overshot that a little bit.
Yeah, well, fuck, damn. So how many people showed up to listen to us banter Jesus for hours?
Man, there's still 63 watching right now. It's
Far
been
out,
peaked up
man.
at like it's peaked at 80, and
Love you
I won't
guys.
know the total until it's over. I'm gonna guess we probably have had about 400 views so far today.
Oh, cool. Cool. Good to be a part of that. Awesome. Yeah.
You're a huge part of that, brother. You're a fucking huge part of that, man. I tried to tell you that back in the spring, man. You're a part of this community. I mean, even
Well,
back in the
good.
spring, the GrowTube was talking about you, kind of wanted to hear for you to pop back
Hey,
up.
yeah, whatever
I mean,
happened?
You're
Whatever happened with that? Whatever happened with GrowTube? I never even heard what ended up happening with that. Just
from my
disappeared?
understanding, they took the normal summer hiatus like they always do.
Uh-huh.
And then recently, from what I've heard, Diego Doggo, depending on who you want to talk about, that's almost like that weird fucking Mandela thing. Some people's like, it's always been Doggo. I'm like, no, it's at one point it was Diego.
It was Dago. It was
Dago.
Yeah, crazy.
But
He was
now it's
crazy
Doggo.
Dago. Yes, he was crazy
it's-
Dago, and now he's Doggo.
Right. But from what I understand, his job has gotten like wind of everything. And I always thought the last season he kind of mentioned he was kind of cool with his job about it. But from what I understand, now he's got to take it all down. So his social media, the YouTube, all that shit's gone right now.
So that's why it all went
it's
down.
coming
Is because
back.
oh, that's why it got pulled down because I didn't hear the explanation. That sucks. Damn.
Yeah. I'm sure he was a smart gentleman. I'm sure it's backed up somewhere.
Yeah, I would think so. Wow.
Challenger deep.
What was that?
So I'm rolling up another Challenger deep right now.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good.
What's the terp profile on that?
This one's like earthy fuel. So I got on this one. Pretty good.
Fuel like a gas or fuel like a diesel?
Fuel like a gas, not diesel.
Okay.
Definitely not diesel. It's pretty good.
Killer.
I'm weaning out a bunch of stuff to make room for some new stuff. Getting out of the habit of trying to hold, 20 some strains. I'm trying to keep it to
That's
10
it.
or so, 10, 15.
Yeah, definitely something manageable, not like that 30 I used to keep.
Nothing wrong with that.
No,
It used to be
no.
obsessive like that, man. And just anything you popped, you're like, I've got work into that. I can't lose it. You know what I mean?
I know.
It isn't as of late, Rascal, that I've became, a little more open-minded about sharing some of that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm still hard to pop out of that competition, not competition, but that mindset that I want to come to market, if you will, or not come to market or whatever with something different. You know what I mean? And it's hard to if everybody's got that. So I always had a hard time passing my shit. You know what I mean? It hasn't been the last couple of years where I'm like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Here, take this.
Yeah.
But it's usually, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a year stagger there. You're not going to have it the same year. I'm going to have it for about a year. Then I'll pass the love after a year.
It's funny because like that green ice and that velvet hammer and that cheese. I mean, there's only one person that has those other than me, and it's him. Just in case something happens to me, the strains don't die. but that's, yeah, I get it. I get it.
That's the beauty of the next gen there. That's the
well,
fucking beauty. I don't know how many fucking buddies I pass shit to. And then you get back to the buddy and you're like, hey man, you got that cut for me? Oh, I thought you still had it or he had it. Now your boy there's respect there. I'm pretty sure he's not getting rid of your shit. Unless there's some kind of conversation or something's going down.
That's, I mean, how can I show up in an event, like some kind of an organic event with this killer cheese cross that I made, if I throw the cheese out there to everybody? I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard thing. I agree. It's a hard thing to do.
Especially if you've hunted it. That's another thing too. If you've acquired the strain and you're sitting on it, that's a toughie too. That's a toughie too. But if you've popped and hunted that fucking thing, and you're the only one that's got it, and you've hunted it, now it's almost impossible to give up.
Yeah.
You really.
Yeah. That's, and I don't know how some of these guys, I've dabbled around and I've bred, but I've never sold seeds. And I don't know, I've created some crosses and stuff where I'm like, man, I just created this. No one has ever seen this before. And it's really killer weed. No, why the hell I want to go and sell those seeds? I'm the only one who's got it. You know what I mean? It's a whole different mentality unless you're in the seed game. That's the fun of the plant. There's something in it for everybody. I'm not looking to make a min off seeds. I'm looking to create some killer shit that runs well here, whether you run it from a clone or you run it from, a seed, because it's been born outside here. It's been bred outside here, run outside here for generations and crossed back to itself, and it just grows here.
Well, I'll answer your question there a little bit, Rascal. And that's the shit that legends are made of. Them are the seeds that you have, brother. No, I'm serious.
I mean,
that's the one that you've
yes.
smoked with a friend at a cup, and you're like, wow, man, what's that? And then you almost look forward to smoking it again next time you see him. Yep. And then you're blessed with them, a 10-pack. You know what I mean? One of few. You're like, oh yeah, this bitch is going down. And then from there, you know what I mean? It's just kind of a select few, and that's how cuts are made. You know what I mean? That's how good cuts are made right there. Only a few people had them, man. They got passed around, like you said, that group of 30. And that's all it ever was right there. And now it's cut only.
That's right. Well, the Eagles Cup. That's right.
Someday.
There you go. Holy shit. I am about to lose this phone, man. This battery's about to die on me.
Shit. I'm not complaining, man. I've got almost 3 hours with fucking cool ass motherfucker I've been looking to hang out with for a long, long time.
This was way overdue, man, and I was happy to do it. I've been dodging you for a long time because I just didn't have any place to do this. But here we are.
Well, I got you to check in for a minute on 420. Sorry, Smiley.
You did.
I was going to give Rascal a shout out too, because like when I started into the whole organics thing 4 years ago, yours were some of the only videos I was finding too, talking about doing your no-till, talking about, and I picked up a ton on how you were doing some of that stuff indoors.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. That's cool as hell. That's cool as hell.
Long time. So
I got this crazy ass goal to take that permaculture system and to fill it full of different vegetables and different berries and shit, and fill it full of a bunch of pot plants, and fire up that damn YouTube channel again and see if I can't get some crossover where, I get a whole bunch of people that are looking at a bunch of pot plants and they see me walking around these pot plants and reach down and pick up a bean and start munching on it. And then they start growing a fucking bean plant. And there's these people who think that this is just cool as shit that I grow these bean plants in this swale system. And, you know, all this thing is living together and it flows down into this pond and it's all connected. And they grow vegetables and they just want to grow vegetables in a swale system. And they don't give a shit that I'm talking about pot. That right there, man, that'll make that whole entire project worthwhile if I could get some crossover and to get, you know, people like my mom who doesn't give a shit about pot, probably wouldn't watch it about pot. But when I'm talking about all the different vegetables and stuff, and she sees how it grows and there's a symbiotic relationship there. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's when we overgrow the fucking planet. Right there.
Oh yeah, bro.
Yep.
So Rascal, before your battery dies, brother.
Yes.
There's one thing I want to get from you.
What's
and that's the soundbite. Have you caught the soundbite? You know what the soundbite is.
What soundbite?
The soundbite is like the old school fucking station identification where you're fucking, hey, this is fucking Pantera and I'm on fucking Z-Rock. But except tonight, it's Rascal Farmer and I'm fucking talking shit with Eagle. That's the soundbite I'm looking for right there, my man. Can you give me the soundbite?
I can do that. This is Rascal Farmer, and I am fucking talking shit with Eagle.
Hell yeah. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. It marks everybody's episode, that little bit right there. I'd like to throw them up as like an advertisement. And
perfect.
Thank you. So
you bet. You bet. Was that good enough, man?
Hell yeah. Unless you want to do another one, it's up to you. Is it good enough for you?
If it was good enough for you, it was good enough for me.
It's just fine. Totally satisfied as I smoke on my fatty, man. Thanks, Rascal.
You betcha, man. Have a good night.
Awesome, man.
Have a good night, brother.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Come back, say Rascal, real quick.
Yeah, what?
Don't leave.
All right.
Hey, if you ever want to hang out again, there's like panel shows. Like sometimes I don't have a guest and we do like panels or like a late sesh, like say if a guest does like go short half hour and then we're just hanging out, you know. The numbers on the Zoom are always the same.
Okay.
So if you ever fucking see us on and you're like, I want to go hang out with them motherfuckers, you know how to work Zoom. You got the numbers. You're more than welcome, my friend.
All right, man. All right.
Have
a good night, guys. You bet.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What a great night fucking hanging with Rascal Farmers. I hope to hear again from him soon. Smiley, you still there? There you are.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. No, that was awesome, dude. I've been a big fan of Rascal for a while. He's definitely doing some unique, cool stuff, and he grows trees, man. It's cool. If you're not following him, check him out. Gets up some cool shit. But I'm gonna hop out so you can do what you do, and then we'll start the rabbit hole.
Right on, man. Right on.
Peace out.
Yeah, I'd hate to fuck this up. See you in a minute, Smiley.
All right.
All right, guys, that's the end of this episode. Let me get out of full screen here. There we go. I can see some stuff. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode with Rascal Farmers and Smiley's Gardens. Always a pleasure hanging out with Smiley, and fucking even better night hanging out with Rascal Farmers. Super cool dude. Super cool dude. Man, I did try to get him on in the spring to give us a little bit of fucking outdoor tips, but life happens. But nonetheless, man, I am grateful for the fucking 3 hours I got to hang out with that gentleman. You know, long overdue, man. Long overdue, just as I said. Well, with that being said, guys, we still got roughly, hour and 30 minutes left of the show. So I'm going to fucking jump off and probably use the bathroom real quick and log back on, and we'll be right back for 133.5, The Rabbit Hole. See you guys in a minute. Good night. Thanks, everybody. Oh, yeah. I can't forget. Do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. The shout outs for everybody else will be at 420 at the end of the show. Thank you guys. Thank you, Rascal. I look forward to hearing from you again soon. For the rest of you guys, I'll see you in a few. Thanks. Good night.